So, what do you want to talk about first today? What's on the top of mind?
There's a couple of things on my mind. One is I've been looking through a lot of the different ridings in our province.
Yeah.
And there are so many ridings where literally you have NDP, Green, and Liberal making up like 60% of the projected, and yet Conservatives are still on top because the other three are splitting.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so scared, but at the same time, like, this is, I think, the biggest message that the left or progressives, whatever you want to call us, non-conservatives, need to be pushing out like crazy. Because at the end of the day, our country, like, it's a good representation of our country. Our country is mostly progressive. Like, you have 65% of people, at least, in this country who are progressive voters and have a completely different life ideology than what has happened to the Conservatives. Because at the end of the day, the Conservatives are not what they used to be, right? Like, back in the day when we had progressive Conservatives,
Yeah.
it was very different.
No.
Because a lot of those progressive Conservatives would not be okay with the you know, basically the Reform Party ideology, the extreme right ideology.
Those progressive conservatives are like my dad, and they're probably going to choke back and they're going to vote for Carney this year, right? They went in.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are doing
looking
it.
at the numbers, and they're going to go to Carney this year because of Carney's background. People are getting a lot of misinformation. I know in my riding, you know, the Liberal fella who I'm endorsing, his name is Reggie. Voteforreg.ca. You can look him up. Yeah, he is running and he's doing well. The NDP, she's a little bit lower. If we stacked everyone together, we might give enough confidence that we could actually do something and push that vote. They're busy arguing and all pointing fingers at each other, saying your vote splitting, no, your vote splitting. So how do you get past that?
We have to talk to people. Like, every video we make, every, you know, article that we write, every time that we talk to our friends and our family and everybody we know, we have to make them understand by showing them the polling in a lot of these ridings where the progressive parties together, if they were to vote for one party only, would destroy the Conservatives in that area by an insane gap. The biggest problem that we're having right now is that we're looking at a massive vote split. And this is how Conservatives always get in, is because the other parties split their vote. And it is really freaking frustrating.
And it's important to pay attention right now. Like, the NDP really is that, you know, leopards eat their faces off right now. They're not doing well internally. There's a lot of stuff going on. And had you have asked me at Christmas, I think you and I had this chat, and I was like, I'm voting NDP.
Yeah.
I'm voting NDP. And I was hard that I was voting NDP. You know what? Things changed. And you had to, you know, you have to be ready to flip and do what you have to do. Right? And that's it. You know, it's not personal, but I'm not risking Canada for it. I'll check my ego.
Yeah, it's just something that we gotta make people aware of, right? Because, as I said, at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, 65% of Canada does not want a Conservative government, and if they win, they're going to win because the rest of us are splitting our vote.
Yep. Ed wants
people. Sure, just
give it a little bit more time in chat first.
It's totally up to you. It's just up to you if you want to bring up friendlies or opposition.
Is Ed a friendly? I don't know Ed well.
Yeah, Ed's a friendly. He's okay. Great.
Ed, do you mind just, like, I'm not totally blowing you off. Can you just give us a little bit of time and we're going to talk, and then we'll go into opening up the box to everyone. Okay, Ed? Okay, go ahead and finish, Frontline.
I think it was pretty much at the end there. I was just saying how important it is to drive that message home and to make people understand what strategic voting really is. And the other thing that's pissing me off, I'm going to be brutally honest, because I don't care about, you know that I was a NDP voter for years
Yeah.
and years and years, and I stood by that party pretty much up until that very last minute when they decided to show us that it's party over country.
Yeah.
And right now they are spreading misinformation about what strategic voting is.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with a lot of different, commercials and stuff to say, oh, well, they're just telling you to vote liberal. No, we're not. We're telling you to understand our freaking voting system, understand how it works, and then understand your own personal riding, because it works by ridings. And if people think that it's not like we just count up the votes for everybody, we are not like that.
I kind of
So-
feel like right now with Jagmeet, oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Finish
No,
this
no,
up.
you did. No, you didn't interrupt me. Go ahead.
I always kind of joked around with Radical, and I always called Jagmeet Dropkick Jag, because just when you get close enough to want to be with them, he drop kicks you. He just drop kicks you, and he did it to Trudeau many times, and I get that he's the opposition, but if they had him, they would have been much stronger. He's always the bridesmaid. It's I saw a video Nitty did today. I don't know 100% of the context. I have to check into it, but it was really alarming that they turned on another creator. I heard last week that they went after Dylan at or was it Devin? Maybe it was Devin. I'm sorry if I got the information wrong. They turned on Devin at an event last week. You had a bad experience with him. Like, it's just not resonating well.
And Charlie Angus, who is like the beloved NDP MP, he's standing on the other side right now. He's like, what you're doing is not right, dude. Like, Charlie Angus talked about strategic voting in the proper way and endorsed it, and the rest of his party is running with a very different message, and they are scrambling. And what pisses me off the most is that if we actually strategically vote in this entire country, if we got behind what strategic voting really is, they would end up getting more seats. They would actually end up getting more seats than they are polled to get if everybody just votes for the party that they want to vote for.
Yeah.
So they
I'm
are
not gonna
doing
let
themselves a disservice. They're doing
Yep.
everybody else a disservice right now,
like
and
they're
it is
doing-
wild to me, because if I was the leader of the NDP right now, I'd be like, things aren't looking that great for us. We obviously made a mistake. If we actually do strategic voting properly, then we'll actually get more seats, which will help our party. So why don't we actually get behind that? But I think that, I think both Pierre and Jagmeet are honestly at a point where they know they've made a mistake, and they're embarrassed that they've made a mistake. And instead of saying, we made a mistake, we're now going to change things around, they're just doubling down because it's an embarrassment and they don't want to face that. That's just what I honestly think.
Okay, I am going to start off with welcome to Beaver Politics, everyone. My name is Mrs. Radical, and this is Frontline Feminist. And tonight we are working on a debate style Beaver Politics. So we'll have people up in the boxes. We want opposition. We want to have some conversation with everyone. We want to talk about what's going on in a civil manner. If you can't behave, we won't take insults. We won't take swearing, nothing like that. You're out. But if you can have a civil conversation and state your mind and have a good back and forth, we'd love to hear from you. So welcome to Beaver Politics, and we're just talking about what's going on right now with the NDP. Go ahead. Oh, and you know what? Why don't we bring it up to like 20,000, 25,000 before we let somebody in the box? Get this out there on the FYP. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring, and we do appreciate all your gifts to Beaver Politics to help us grow the Beaver Dam. Okay?
All right, so yeah, if you guys want to join, make sure you tap, get us to 20,000 likes, and then we'll open up the boxes. So you know what you got to do. Use your little finger and ba 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 ba.
So this election is moving fast and furiously. Holy cow! Every day ticks by, I'm just shocked.
Have you noticed, though, that a lot of the conservatives just keep getting angrier and angrier as each day goes by? It is honestly disturbing. Like, it is disturbing, and it makes me fear a little bit what's going to happen if Carney wins. I feel like there's going to be some violence from those extreme right people in our country, and I'm genuinely scared of them.
I mean, I'm worried about it for sure. I think with somebody like Carney, I don't think we're going to get like a Joe Biden approach if something like that happened. And I don't think we're going to get a Trudeau approach. I think it's going to be a sensible approach, and he'll be on top of it. I just have that feeling about him. And you know, there are these people that are just so extreme. You can't rule these things out anymore. Like they've been bred like this for a while.
I was listening to a podcast when I was driving to the grocery store today, and it was talking about how at the end of the day, like what Pierre has built his base around has generally been angry young men. And it's scary because they were looking at the polling numbers and they were seeing how there's a lot more women who are going to be voting for a progressive party in Canada than they did in the United States. So like the gap in women voting, like there was a lot of women that voted for Trump in the States. A lot.
And what they're but there's a lot of them that bled out in parking lots outside of hospitals.
Oh, I know. But what I'm saying is the gap, like of the percentage wise, how many women were voting for Trump in the States and what's projected here is massive. So like in Canada, we have way more progressive women than the United States. When we look at the polling, we also see that it's the younger generation that's voting conservative, not the older generation, which is very different than the past, right? That has been very, very different because a lot of these older folks are actual progressive conservatives that realize that by joining with the Reform Party, they totally made a mistake. And for the first time in their life, they're actually going to be voting Liberal this time around. And what that leaves is 45 and under, specifically men. That's the biggest voter base that the Conservatives have.
Thanks, Curiously, for the gift. We really appreciate you. Yeah, 100%. I mean, they have really turned off. They brought this whole 51st state thing, they brought Canadians together. That's the one thing a lot of Canadians is patriotic. And especially boomers and stuff like that. They don't want to see this stuff happening. Nobody wants to see this stuff happening. And they can't get behind it. They just can't. Unless you've been stirring in the soup for too long, which is definitely possible. The Mrs. had Kay on yesterday. Her specialty is learning about cults and cult person and how people get brought into cults. And there's a lot of people that kind of simmered in those sauces for a long time, if you know what I mean. When you talk about those young men, you know, I lived in Alberta and I taught in the education system. And I watched a lot of Christian women pull their kids out of school and start doing that homeschool piece. And these churches got together. And so when we're thinking about these angry young men, that's kind of where I'm leaning to when I'm hearing those bro boys.
It's just sad. It's just sad because they don't understand the correct information. They've been getting their information for so long from these far right channels and sources. I mean, it is like even I forgot who did the post, but I don't know, one of the awesome female creators here on TikTok that does political content. But she made a post about how about National Post, which is, far right, well, right, let's call it, media source, put out this very confusing headline, where when you read the headline, it seemed like the Conservatives are actually leading in the polls. That's what the headline made it sound like. But if you actually read it, right, even in the subheading, it actually said, no, they're not leading in the polls. They just maybe had a small little increase in the polls lately, but the Liberals are still leading. And whoever posted that on their page or their X feed or whatever it was, they actually cropped the article so that the subheading was gone and they just moved Pierre's picture up. So it looked very good and very promising for Conservatives. But then if you actually read the article and you read the numbers, the entire article is how the Liberals are still leading, and it's most likely that they're going to get at least a minority government. And that's what the entire article talked about. But the headline, they did it in such a way that was very misleading, and they know that people nowadays do not have the patience to read a full article. They don't have the patience to actually go through everything, and so they're going to read a headline and they're going to run with it, and they use that kind of psychology for their base to make them think that they're doing so good. Just like with the whole crowd sizes. Oh my God, PP's crowd sizes are so massive. We must be doing so good. They said the same thing in the States. It was all about crowd sizes. People
need to, and just to be fair on the other side, it's not that people aren't smart enough to read those articles through. That's not what she's saying at all. But people are also really busy. I know a lot of people that have to work 2 and 3 jobs to get by. I have to work 2 jobs to get by. I just know that happens, and people are busy, and when they're busy, you're going to look at a line and you're going to, it's going to be on the paper you favor or the information you favor. Oh yeah, that's it. And you're going to walk away because that's the information you think you're getting.
Oh, here's a little tip for anybody who's here listening. If you don't have the time to read an article, there are apps that you can get that will read it out to you. So like while you're cooking dinner, while you're getting ready in the morning, if you don't have the time to sit down and read it, I know people are busy, but you can get an app and just listen to that article. You know what I mean? You can at least listen to it so that you are a little bit more aware of what's actually being written, because I'm telling you right now, from going to, I didn't complete my journalism degree. I kind of dropped out halfway because I hated how much it was all about marketing. And that's what pissed me off so much about journalism, is that it's not what I thought it would be. I mean, the first half of the degree was, but then it got all into like how to sell, how to get clicks. It was all click, click, click. You got to make the money, right? And that's what I hated about it, because that kind of kills true journalism. And I know what they do when they're making those headlines. They are thinking about how to get that clickbait, how to get those numbers up. So it's you have to read past the headline. The headlines are structured in a way that make you feel like something's popping out of your chest. They want to be sensational. That's the whole point of selling and marketing when it comes to journalism. So you have to read past the headline, and you have to read past the subheading.
Paragraph, usually you wouldn't get the story. It wasn't until the second paragraph where you started getting information.
Yeah. That's why I said it's super important that you actually read through the whole thing. And even when you read through the whole thing, you got to also know that that's probably only 5% of the story that you're reading. It is incredibly complicated for a journalist that's done a huge investigative piece to actually pick out the small little bits to put together to create a story. There's always more behind it. That's why I think it's super important, especially if you're reading about a, super important piece of news, that you look at multiple sources and you read things from multiple journalists, because some of them are going to probably have certain facts in there that the other ones missed. And the only way to get a full, clear picture is to read it from different sources, and even even different bias sources, like something that's center, something that's maybe a little bit more left, and something that's a little bit more right. But then there's, of course, certain, news outlets that I don't even call them news outlets. They're not. They're media outlets, like Rebel News. Rebel News is a joke. Sorry for anybody who, thinks that that's a good source of information, but they're not. They're a media company, and they can talk about whatever they want. They're held to no actual journalistic standards. They just have the word news in their name. So that's not a source to me.
To me, it's not. I mean, to me, I find Rebel Media and entertainment, I don't know. I find it very dangerous. I find it very dangerous to society. And I think that, when we come out of the other side of whatever we're going through, these are going to be some of the things that we're going to have to look deeply at to find out, as a society, what we did wrong, allowing these things to grow. And what part as government, as citizens, as people, what we did, because those things allowing them to grow just really created even more of a toxicity in our society.
Well, see, that's the problem with being able to be in a democratic society that runs well. You have to have trust in people. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when that trust is broken, it's very hard to do something about it while still keeping freedom of expression, right? Because that's what you have in democratic countries. You have freedom of speech or freedom of expression. Most European countries and us, we have freedom of expression, so that hate speech is actually illegal. But it's like all the fake news and the propaganda, we have no legislation around it. And that was a big mistake that should have, it should have been created back in like 2005, 2006, when social media started kind of booming and Facebook was a thing for the first time. That's when those laws should have been created. But at that time, we all had trust in each other. The government had trust in people. Everybody thought that we would have enough common sense to just work it out amongst ourselves. And it ended up becoming the biggest disaster that, an evolving intelligent society has ever had to face.
Yeah, 100%. So those are those things that they'll have to analyze on the other side. Is this something we can ever allow again? What does this look like? I often look at things and I say, wow, there's so many things that are unchecked or not even followed up on. Like, there's so many laws that so many people have been able to break and just walk away with it unaccountable. And their politicians and their leaders and their journalists, absolutely. There's all kinds of people. So it's just interesting how it's going to look when we move forward.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put some laws in place that are gonna piss some people off. And I'm gonna mute myself because I have ambulance going by.
Ooh, that's loud. I remember living in a high rise, and boy, you just can't help it. It's just so loud. So thanks everyone for being here. This is Beaver Politics. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. We appreciate all your support in the Beaver Dam and helping it grow. Tonight, we are going to open it up to a debate. We're almost at 20,000. Tap, 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 tap. 18.8K, 18.99. There you go. We're almost at 20,000. Tap, 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 and we'll open it up and we'll start having a debate. So we want some ops to start out with so we can start this conversation and then we'll build into it. What do you guys think? Dun, dun, dun. I guess the tapping is...
Where are we at? 19 point. Oh, there we go. We're getting close.
We're getting close. We can open it up.
All right, I'm gonna change it up to this so that we can bring up people in these little boxes.
I love that.
Oh, we're at 20.
We're at 20. And...
oh my goodness.
There was somebody earlier. Just looking for him. Where'd he go? They go. So
if I had to go line by line and tell you all the things.
Your screen is all
what?
your screen was frozen. Now it's good. Just so you know, if you can hear me, you have the live paused right now. Oh, there we go.
I'm just turning on my headset.
Gotcha.
Nobody can hear me. Okay, yeah, I just had to pause it. Sorry, everyone. Get my headset going here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. You're good.
Okay, so I don't see Ed in there. Ed really wanted to come in, and I don't see Ed. Okay.
He'll be back.
So, empowered.
We can just stop right there and then we'll get more people up later.
It's Smarshy. I just changed my name to Empowered Smarshy.
Oh, hey, Smarsh. I didn't know that was you.
Is there anybody in the chat that's opposition that wants to come up?
March, if you don't mind, I'm gonna drop you. I thought you were opposition. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm definitely not not an op.
Miss Radical, just let me know if you want me to handle the guests and the bringing people up and taking people down. I can do that.
I don't know all the ops, so yeah, if you don't mind, you can do that. And curiously, if you can stay for a bit and we'll chat. And Marsh will bring you back up in a bit here, okay?
It's fun. They all go running from the chat when we invite up a panel.
They have fears.
All right, guys, if you are voting conservative, join the panel.
If you're voting NDP, join the panel. No? Yeah? I got a new hat. I don't know if it's going to show well or not. What do you think?
I love it.
Cute.
It's sparkly.
Let's see, we got somebody here. Oh, it's Smarsh again. Well, there's a lot of opposition in the chat earlier, but I think they got bored with us talking. Oh well, they'll be back. Let's just chat until then.
What?
Is there any opposition in the chat right now? Are you voting conservative? We'd love to talk.
Somebody said, I love that we proudly wear Canada gear again. I love it too.
All right,
I bought some Canada, right? I bought some Canada sunglasses the other day. I'm pretty proud. Miss Radical, you're muted. Just FYI, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Oh, yeah, we can't.
Nope, can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Maybe her headphones died, who knows?
Yeah, the end of your thing had a red light.
Maybe now?
Oh, there
Yep,
we go. Weird.
yep.
No headphones, but a nice Canada hop.
Hey, Calvin. Tensi.
How are you, Calvin? Is it Tenzi or is it Tenze? I got confused.
Just invite up some friendlies for now until we get some opposition in the chat. When we see them in the chat, we can tell them to come up, and then we can drop some of the friendlies. But we can bring some other people up for now.
Okay, go ahead. Did you see my little beaver?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, Calvin.
Hi, I missed you guys.
Bath time again.
Miss Radical, you were wondering if it was Tanze or... Yeah, it's Tanze.
Yep.
Tansei.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did the same kind of thing yesterday, because I got tired of trying to debunk all of the individual propaganda posts, right? So I just did a live, and I just invited anybody onto my live that could convince me that Pierre Poilievre was better than Mark Carney, type of thing. And nobody came to my chat. Like, they don't have legitimate arguments other than what's been integrated into their minds. Like, it's concerning, and I don't know how to combat that.
I've noticed less rhetoric on my videos, so it kind of feels like they're getting quiet.
You know what's happening, and it happened in the States because I am a fanatic at following what happened in the States. They recluse and they go back into their back channel group chats and their Facebook groups and their back country channels, and that's where they influence and propagate this narrative. It's the silent majority, they called it, and it worked. It worked like a charm, and that's what I'm scared it's happening now. That they know they have no chance at actual evidence and truth and actual genuine discussion. So they're going back, hiding in their back corner chat groups, and somebody we know infiltrated one of their groups and said that they're instructing individuals to harass people like us.
Mm-hmm.
That
That
doesn't
doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Not one bit.
And as women creators, we're easy targets.
Yep.
Yes.
I had an odd message on TikTok today. Someone was trying to include. Someone was talking about the Illuminati. I'm like, what? Like, oh, we'd like you to join the Illuminati. I'm like, no, block, delete, goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't just randomly message you on TikTok, but goddamn, it's scary.
Yeah. And people get doxxed all the time. Rachel Gilmore got doxxed. Well, she didn't really, she got doxxed in a different way of what a regular dox would be. She got doxxed through her employment opportunities. But she's got a better opportunity now. Good for her.
What's
Yeah.
her new opportunity?
Huh?
Tell us about her new opportunity.
Um, God, I just read an article on it. I'm not sure if I read an article or saw a post. It was on. She's on a new newscast, new news agency. I don't
Excellent.
remember
Good
what it
to know.
was. But I'd like to hear Rachel put it out there herself.
Yeah,
I won't believe it until I hear it from Rachel, type of thing.
it's good to be wise like that.
I don't think it was the National Post.
No,
I think
it
it was.
wasn't.
I think it was the Observer.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
National Post
No
is far.
Observer.
National Post is far right. National Observer isn't.
Yeah, she made her last videos about it.
Well, we do have one good thing that's going for us. We can take what's going on in the States right now and actually tell people, like, look, this is what's happening here. It already happened there. So we have an advantage that way. And I'm trying to push First Nation communities all over the country. They have a direct influence on 9 conservative seats,
Yep.
MP seats, all across Canada. And then on top of that, they don't have a direct control over Michelle Ferrari's seat, but they do have enough votes to put over the next candidate over the top to unseat Michelle Ferrari.
Yeah, that
That's
would be awesome.
awesome.
I totally agree with you. You know, even today, these people are watching people that they like in the United States being affected by the stock market crash and losing their jobs and all of these things. So I think their world is whirling a little bit too on what they believe and what they don't believe.
Unfortunately, conservatives that are going to vote conservative do not see the similarities between Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party and Trump and the Republican Party, even though they are one and the same. They work together. They're all under the IDU together. They literally have the same type of policies. They have the same type of rhetoric, the same type of bigotry, racism, you name it. It is wild that they continue to say, no, he's not like that because he said so. Okay, cool. Well, Trump also said a bunch of dumb things. Like, I don't understand. So if you believe PP, then you obviously believe Trump. You, as a conservative, you cannot tell me that you are against Trump but pro PP. It just doesn't make sense. And I feel like deep down, they're actually pro-Trumpers. They have to be, because it's the same rhetoric. And that's a rhetoric they love. That's a rhetoric they feel attached to. That's a rhetoric that's been brainwashing them for 10 years. Or, manosphere rhetoric, right? Like, it's been there for so long that whenever they try to say that, like, oh, Trump bad, Carney is all in line with Trump, blah, blah, blah. Like, they know that it's BS. I swear, deep down, they must know.
I gotta tell you a story from
You know
my
what's more?
story.
You know,
I just gotta tell you guys something. I was at the pool the other day and I'm having this conversation with this, like, he's like 73 years old and he's telling me why he hates Trudeau and all of this stuff, right? And he goes, and you know that Chrystia Freeland and she's so rude and she does this and she does that and look at the Americans and the Republicans and how great they are. And I said, well, wait a minute. So you're okay with Marjorie Taylor Greene putting up nude people in the House, but you're not okay with Chrystia Freeland?
you know too. What hurts me the most,
What?
and this really hurts, is when I see my own people idolize Pierre Poilievre, boost
Oh,
Pierre Poilievre, say that they want to be part of the 51st state, that the United States will treat us better than Canada. Like, I'm trying to say, like, what Kool-Aid, what poison did you drink? Because Navajo Indians are being deported from the United States. They're First Nation. I mean, like, dude, like, you have no idea what the conservatives is going to do, not only to you, but your children and my children. Like,
and my children, myself,
and exactly.
and my dad, and my brother, and his kids.
There's nobody special. There's nobody special in this scenario, right?
No.
They're gonna go after everybody in the BIPOC community, everybody that they foresee as weak. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to come down harder than ever.
And
Harder
in
than
my
ever.
in
And
my small
I have
island,
a friend from the BIPOC community, and I remember calling the mountain going, let's go to BLM, let's go do this, let's go do that. And they had to kind of have a conversation with me where they were like, no, like actually we're okay with this. This is okay with us. That was hard for me to hear.
yeah, and I come from a small island, and there's a lot of us are poor on this island, and a lot of us just work hard to make ends meet. And I can see the most business influential, richest people in Cape Breton and in Sydney are pushing for the conservatives, and they have a lot of voice and a lot of sway. And a lot of poor people in the Sydney area, a lot of hard, decent working people in the like the middle class community of Sydney and all of Cape Breton are listening to these millionaires and believe in everything that they say and going against their own interests. So the other day I had a conversation. Um, Somebody was saying this and this about the liberals. So I'll be like, hey, wait a minute. You're talking about housing, but housing under Pierre Poilievre's plan is for corporations and existing landlords to take advantage of the system. And there's nothing in there for an individual that's poor or middle class to make their first home. Now, Mark Carney's plan says that, but Pierre Poilievre is only for millionaires. I'm like, come on, man, you gotta learn to read between the lines there.
For the corporate landlords, not the people.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a big difference between saving for a first-time home buyer versus saving on a new home. Those are two different things. Zojin actually did an amazing breakdown of the three different housing plans, and even he, who's like been a huge NDP supporter for the longest time, even he was like, at the end of the day, Mark Carney's plan is the only solid housing plan. The conservative housing plan is just for corporations to buy up more houses and to just hold on to them for assets or rent them out for ridiculous prices, but it's not for the regular people. Like, it's not for us.
Actually,
Right?
yeah, you're totally right. But it's also a corporate welfare program. It's a corporate loophole. See, I'm a landlord.
For
And
sure.
if I can take advantage of this program, I can build in Sydney, take advantage of that GST, take that GST and reinvest it into a new building and take out a loan, save the GST on that, remortgage and build another one. And it does nothing for the people that are actually working every day.
And that's what I mean. It is, but people don't know how to read plans and how to understand them. So they look at it and they're like, oh, this sounds great. But they don't realize who it actually benefits. And it's not them.
No. And it's Pierre Poilievre is really good at misleading sentences. That's a big factor too.
Exactly. He knows how to manipulate people in the low income and middle income. Like the 15% tax decrease didn't explain that. Like, he just tries to make things sound better than what they are. And like, just look at who he aligns himself with.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though. He's kind of like Trump. He likes the highly uneducated.
Yeah.
Highly uneducated. It's a requirement, right? You should probably be a criminal. You should probably have hurt a small child. You should be of a religious persuasion.
We have to identify. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's honestly just really, really sad that these people don't understand. Like, these people are so scared of taxes. Taxes is the scariest thing to them. They think that we pay way more taxes in the United States, which is actually quite untrue. But at the end of the day, they don't realize that like our society is built up on the government taking our taxes and spending it on roads, healthcare programs that can help us, etc. Like, if he keeps cutting taxes, where is he going to figure out where to get that money from? There
don't
is
care about
nowhere. He's
taxes.
only gonna. That's what I mean. He's gonna cut programs, but these people keep saying like, and this is the hypocrisy is insane because they say, oh well, you should just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work harder. We don't want to support government welfare, but they're sane people that are complaining that there's people lining up outside of food banks, and it's like, okay, well then you obviously want the government help now, don't you? It's just the biggest BS
And
I've
they're
ever
also the
seen in my
same
life.
people that didn't even hit the needle on the carbon tax piece. They
Yeah.
screamed for years about carbon tax piece. Where are they? Anyone?
That's what I was thinking about too. Like they went years and years and years complaining about the carbon tax, and now it's cut, and you don't hear a freaking peep about it from them now.
You hear that, well, it's not the industrial. He needs to cut the industrial carbon tax because our prices are still going to be massive because of the industrial carbon tax. Cutting the consumer one was just a show. Ha ha ha. Like, that's literally what you're going to get.
And it's
Yeah,
not
and-
going to change anything by cutting the carbon tax to them because they'll still charge a lot of money.
Yeah, and
To
they
point
don't.
this out, hold on, I just want to point this out and then I promise I will shut up for a bit. If he cuts the industrial carbon tax, he will force us into having to work with America, whether we like it or not, because they are the only ones that will accept trade with us without an industrial carbon tax. If we actually want to get closer to Europe, and that's going to be really good for us. Think about even just food, okay? Getting food from Europe versus getting food from America. Do you know how much healthier food from Europe is because of their regulations? Like, it's going to be so much better for all of us if we stop being so reliant on the United States, right? So, like, we need the freaking industrial carbon tax if we want to be able to have proper trade with the EU. And it is important for us to be close to them. It's important for us to support them. America is isolating itself. And what Pierre is basically saying when he says, I'm going to cut the industrial carbon tax, he is saying, I will enslave Canada to the United States of America. Because that's exactly what that will do. And if people can't freaking see that, it drives me insane.
Right. Absolutely.
He was speaking off about that too. He was saying when he first started saying what he would change, he wanted to strengthen ties with the U.S. trade, and all of a sudden you're hearing, no, we need to broaden our horizons and start trading globally.
Yeah, he's running out of. He's running out of talking points, and he's being desperate.
You know, and I know this is off topic, but Miss Radical, we did talk about me voting and my uncertainty of voting. I did find somewhere I could vote early. That is not a church. That is in my city. So I'm going to go vote early because I don't want to.
Oh, I'm glad. Good for you.
Yeah. So
Good for you. I mean, it's not always an easy thing to get over something that you're not sure you're okay with, but or how. But I think this time, unlike any other time in Canada, people are being what's called flexible. When I used to teach, I would talk to my students about flexibility, and one of the things I would remind them of when they were doing something well or something they didn't want to do was, thanks for using that flexibility piece. It will serve you in the end.
see, I wasn't going to vote if I had to vote in a church, and I know this election is one of our most important elections ever. And Brentline's like, you have. I was on the phone with Brentline, and she goes, "Where are you going to vote?" I'm like, "Dude, if I have to vote at a church, I'm not voting." Oh, when I tell you, she raved me out
Why, good for her. I would
for
have
not
too.
voting, but reassuring me that my vote still counts was like amazing.
Well,
Maybe you
Professor,
guys.
do you want to come up?
Maybe you guys can help me for a second here before I don't have a lot of time. I've been trying to be fair to Pierre Poilievre. I've been trying to actually look for policies he's done or votes that he's done that's positive and meant for regular working class Canadians. I
Did you
have
find
yet
one?
to. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm asking if you guys found anything that
Okay, so
actually
I've
is
never
did-
found anything.
Nothing positive that I found, but he did have two bills go to Senate. However, those two bills that went to Senate passed, and then the Supreme Court said no, they're unconstitutional. We're
of the
not
Voting
passing them. I'm
Elections
really
Act, and
shocked.
what was the other one?
Oh God, I can't remember, but it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
when
it
he
was
was
meant
first
to.
like MP or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was meant to disenfranchise people from their votes,
Yeah,
but I don't know what the
yeah,
other bill was.
yeah. I don't remember either.
There's a reason he couldn't get voted in Calgary and had to go all the way to Carlton.
Mm.
Right. And my friend Star, I love them. They're a good content creator. They are an amazing content creator. They went to the Polyev
I saw that.
rally,
Oh,
and
I saw that.
and they were
They're
looking
so
back.
brave.
They were looking back at the video, and they didn't realize how um no, I know, Nick. So they looked at the video when they were talking about, like, there's always been two genders, more than two genders in Canada. He literally, all he could do was say "axe the tax" and start chanting "axe the tax." I was like, and then he had to take a sip of water because he was so uncomfortable because he didn't know what to say.
Well,
Yeah.
And his last remark to them was, "Oh, I guess they want to." He misgendered her and said, "Hey, you know, maybe she wants me to axe the tax." And I'm like, dude, like, that's fucking ignorant.
Yeah.
Just like that conservative women's gathering I went to last week, where the guy literally was like, "Oh yeah, the way that we're gonna deal with the Trump administration is by being friends with them, because Pierre's really good buddies with Jamil Javani, and Jamil Javani is like super tight with JD Vance, so like don't worry about it." And it was hilarious. I'm like, wow, like you're telling on yourselves, and I'm loving this for you.
Right?
You know what
right
I'm
on
loving
the
about
loud.
you know what I'm loving about everything right now?
Tell us.
About 4 months ago, I was in panic mode. Nobody was talking about Pierre Poilievre. Nobody was talking about the threat of Pierre Poilievre 4 months ago. And so I was feverishly trying to warn people about him. I was trying to warn all my leaders, all the chiefs. I tried to warn the MP that works in Ottawa here. I tried to warn the local municipal councillor that works in Halifax. Nobody listened. And now I'm seeing, and I felt alone, and I felt like, I'm scared people might think I'm crazy, but I was like, this is too important, and I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I'm going to do this for my kids. And I began speaking out, and now I'm seeing all these content creators warning about PP, and I'm so relieved. I can actually breathe easier, and there's less stress on me now. I'm just loving all of your videos, and I'm just sharing all your videos, and doing all
Oh,
the
yeah.
Calvin, thank you. Thank you for getting out there and inspiring other people. Thank you for being brave enough to do the work. Because the truth is as long as we're all sitting down and we're watching on the sidelines, eating popcorn, nothing's going to get done. And the state showed us that.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
thank you for being brave enough.
You're doing a
Calvin,
great job, Calvin. Like
I
I know,
appreciate you,
like
Calvin.
I live in Alberta, so I am surrounded by conservatives. Like the NDP or Liberals don't stand a chance in my riding, no matter what we do.
Right.
And me having a voice here, I stick my neck out every day, and the messages I get, the comments I get are horrid. And
Oh yeah.
I felt like us all coming together in these lives and using our voices together has made a huge difference, and I don't
Oh,
feel
yeah.
alone anymore.
And curiously, you know what? I felt the same way until I met you and Curtis and Trudy Bird and all my Indigenous relatives on this app. Like, we've been pushing it through. I keep saying, when they get loud, we get louder. We don't
Yeah.
get disrespectful. We just get louder.
Oh
That's
man,
it.
there's nothing like a First Nation woman on the front line. You don't want to mess with her.
No. And I will be that. I will be that Indigenous woman on the front line doing whatever I need to do, because come hell or high water, that man is not going to run our country.
hmm
I
You're
have
more
some
than welcome to come
opposition.
up and have a conversation.
I'm going to drop off there, ladies. I'm just, like I said, I've been just on the go, 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 and I'm relieved now. I can take a day or two off of politics and just recenter myself. You guys keep the good fight, and I'm just enjoying and watching all your guys' beautiful videos.
Take care of yourself. And we
Thank you,
will
Calvin.
Yes,
Thank you,
thank
Calvin.
you.
Take care.
See you, ladies.
You're a warrior.
So, guys,
I have.
I made a video last night that actually went pretty viral. Probably the most viral that any of my videos have ever gone in such a short amount of time. And it was about the doctors, the amount of doctors that are trying to come up to Canada right now. And how much that's skyrocketing, that there's a lot of doctors from the States that are looking at coming here because they can't handle the politics in their practice anymore, and they just don't want to be in that dumpster fire. And our provinces are actually marketing and advertising down there for them to come up here. A bunch of the provinces are also cutting some red tape so that they can start working faster. But yeah, that video made it like super, super viral, super fast. And there were so many Canadians that were like, oh my God, this is actually one of the best things that Trump has ever done for us.
Right?
I was just seeing that today because it was on the news. My mom was watching Global News and I saw it and I was just like, yeah, this is one of the best things Trump has ever done for Canada.
This is the only good thing Trump has ever done in his life is unite the Canadians. It's even funny to me that the Quebecois party wants to stand with us.
Yeah.
That made me, whew.
Yeah, because they know we're actually going to protect their language and their culture, unlike America, who's going to be like, you're French? I don't give a shit, you know? So that's kind of a big deal. I can see why they would want to stand with us right now. And it's not just doctors, right? There's a lot of, I heard a lot of comments. I even made sure that I bookmarked one of them so I can do a reply later. But there was an actual lady from Pennsylvania who was like, yep, I just moved up here a month ago. I'm so grateful I'm in Canada. Oh my God. You don't realize how bad the United States is until you come out here and you're out of it. So I think we're going to start hearing a lot of those stories. And it's also a lot of university professors, a lot of nurses. Like, it is the brain drain of the United States has started, and we're going to reap the benefits of it. A lot of scientists and doctors and intellectuals are going to come up here, guys. A lot of journalists, like good journalists, are going to come up here.
We're going to reap the benefits, and this is going to be the best election. I'm not counting my chickens before they show up. But I will say, I'm hopeful that Carney takes this.
But I do think it's frustrating. Like Alberta, for example, isn't one of those provinces that needs doctors, and Danielle Smith can do everything in her power to ensure that we don't open or cut the red tape for these doctors to come here.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm in Alberta too. I've been here 3 decades.
Yeah.
And it's only gotten worse with her in power. I don't think I can take another 2 years or 3 years with that woman.
I know, right? I need to move somewhere. I'm coming to BC frontline.
I left BC.
Radical. I'm going to Manitoba.
Radical and I left Alberta during COVID. And honestly, one of our deciding factors was I was listening to the news and I heard her on the news and she said something that Trump said, like it was about sanitary and light bulbs and, weird stuff up your butt. And I was,
but we're
moving. I said, I think she's going to be in next, and I think she'll get voted in next, and I'm not going to sit around for that. And we had a moving truck within a month at our house.
Oh, wow. Luke, the red tape that he wants to cut is the Indigenous people, which includes being curious, and we're not doing that. We're not going to be the red tape.
Luke, do you want to come up on the panel?
Oh, no need to reply.
It deserves a reply because that's kind of silly that you would say that.
Danny is still on the radio. She still hosts a radio show every weekend. You can hear her.
Yeah. And the just for people to reference, that's QR77. It's owned by the Chorus Radio Network, which is owned by Patterson Network, which also owns Save On Foods.
Yeah.
Just so people know that. And they endorse her fully. So when you're thinking about how to spend your dollar a little bit, rethink Save On.
Yeah, I don't go there. It's more expensive anyways.
It is.
I
Up
like.
here, dude. You have some pretty strong opinions. Why not chat about them? As long as you're respectful, come on up.
You like my hat?
It's very sparkly. I love that.
Hmm.
I couldn't see it because I was blinded by the sun. Like literally, I was getting blinded by the sun.
I was rocking Dollarama.
Dollarama, I love that place.
Yeah, they are fast tracking some professionals, just not in the province of Alberta.
Oh, he's
No.
watching hockey and listening to us. Isn't that nice? We're so cool
Right.
that. Oh, Gretzky's on. Cool, buddy.
You mean Regretsky?
Regretsky.
Regretsky.
Regretsky's on. Oh, you like Regretsky? Then go be with Regretsky because he's in a hot water as well with some lawsuits that he's got thrown at him.
It's funny, as soon as he left Alberta, he didn't do much after that. Retired.
Nope.
Just commercials.
Joe.
I'm fine. Continue.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Thank you. I'm sure, I think a lot of other people carried him on that team. He was getting old and tired by then, too. Thank you. And on that note, you're on Beaver Politics. Thanks for joining us tonight. And we are looking for a debate or a good conversation. So come on up and join us. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. Help get this out on the FYP.
Super weird that conservatives like to spend hours and hours listening to lives of people they don't agree with. I find that weird, don't you? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't go into conservative lives. Like, I've been there only to like maybe go up on a panel and try to talk, but I won't spend more than 5 minutes until they kick me out, you know?
Okay, but the thing is,
Keyboard warrior.
But I've never sat there and like, you know, hung out on a Saturday night and just like had a conservative live playing beside me. Like, that would be so cringy.
Stop doing research, my dude.
yeah, go do some research. He's got some lawsuits against him. That ain't makes him look like a champion.
I am me. Do you want to come up on the panel? We're trying to find some opposition. Curtis, I don't think you're opposition, are you?
No,
if you are,
Curtis
we'll
is
bring you
friendly.
up. I mean, we can bring him up anyway, but I'd like to get some opposition in here. We've been live for like a good half an hour. We've been live for a good hour and we haven't had any ops.
I didn't get any opposition in my live last Friday. Oh, no, that's not true, actually. There was one fella that came up and did chat with us in the end that was pretty decent.
You got to do what I do. You have to put a really triggering picture behind you. No, I'm serious. You gotta put like a really triggering picture in there.
Let me see if I can change the picture.
Okay, so Jay, we're not. Oh my God, Luke, we're not talking about running a refinery. We're talking about Gretzky not being the great one. He's the great none, in my opinion.
The great
But
nun.
hey, he's the great none, and he's a
Isn't it
Gretzky. He's
Gretzky's wife? Gretzky's wife. She got in a whole bunch of trouble. She was part of a
Yep.
betting scandal, and
Yeah,
his
not only that.
daughter got knocked up too. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention he has a lawsuit against him with a diet program that something went wrong with the program, and now he's being sued for it. So why would he still be number one?
He sounds pretty American to me.
And he also is best friends with the Cheeto downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
He's my kind of Canadian. I'm sorry.
He couldn't even get him. He couldn't even fight for himself. He had to get his wife to go whine on Instagram for him.
Right? Did you see his apology to Canadians? It was pathetic.
Did he
Wasn't
really
his wife's
apologize? I
apology?
never even noticed. He would not change
Didn't
my
his wife
mind.
write it?
Yeah, he like did exactly what Trump and Timu Trump do.
What did he do? I never saw an apology. I saw his wife whine about it, but what did he do?
Oh, he was supposed to apologize to Canada, but he pretty much deflected everything.
Oh.
Like Timu Trump and Trump.
That guy, hey? He's
That's
just
why I
trying to
call him the
figure out how
Great
to change.
Nun.
Well, at least you're acknowledging that, Luke.
It's all irrelevant.
Yes, he was.
Luke, I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to respond to you unless you come up. You have to come up or you don't get a response. You got to play to pay. Pay to play? You got to come up.
Gotta pay to play the price.
Okay. Oh, hey Pixie, how you doing? Tapping is clapping and sharing is caring. Welcome to the Beaver Politics Network. We're here to debate and have conversation. Come up and join us.
Luke, how old are you? Just curious. How old are you?
My response was then quit chirping.
Right?
I seen the
You're
video
right
today
about that, Joe.
of one of the protesters that was at Pierre's rally, and she said that there was only like 12 of them there, and like a whole bunch of cops came out and dragged them away, and they were in like a public space, and
Oh,
that
yeah?
they're actually holding their hands over news media, like their cameras, so they won't film what's happening to the protesters.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Talk about
Americans were.
I think the Americans and Canadians who want to be the 50 can just go away. I don't care. You don't deserve to be in this nation if you don't truly believe that we should still be the same nation we are today.
I mean, there's a few people. I haven't met anybody that has actually. One person has said that to me actually, and everything she thought would be good to change. When we actually had a conversation about it, she was like, "Yeah, no, it's not a good idea."
It's funny you say that, Luke. What do you think of the Freedom Convoy?
He probably is for it.
The Freedom Convoy.
Can't protest at the Pier rally. Can't protest at the Pier rally, but can totally hold up a city for 3 weeks and nonstop honk and keep people up at night.
Yeah, so protesters should be allowed to protest in specified environments, not disturbing the peace. And that's what the convoy was. It was an occupational hazard.
Oh, you got Ed?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Hayden.
Hi.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Good
Hey,
morning, Vietnam.
Let's just give Ed a minute here. Ed, everybody mute your mics for a minute. Ed did want to share some interesting information. So,
Whoa,
let's-
which information about? I don't know if you've seen a video online, but I guess one of PP's staffers accosted a reporter. Have you guys seen that one online or on TikTok?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
And what else?
Yeah.
So
I know
wait,
what I wanted
tell
to
us what
mention.
happened. Was it on video? Was it just an article?
No, it's a video. It's somewhere floating around TikTok, and I can't seem to find it. But somebody told me it's all over TikTok, so I don't know if anybody. So I guess supposedly a reporter was thrown out of the rally or something like that, and was physically touched. Whether I don't know what touched means, but I heard it's been circulating.
Well, I just saw a video where Pierre Poilievre was at a rally where somebody had like a heart attack or something, and they called a nurse to the.
Oh yeah, the nurse and whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. I think honestly, a lot of stuff can be
Okay.
a little.
And one thing I wanted to ask you guys
get thrown out
about.
over stupid
Yeah, sorry.
reasons.
One thing I wanted to ask your guys' feelings about is today's presser PP. He pulled up some victims of I don't know what can I say assault in here?
Yeah.
Okay, so victims of assault. He had like 2 victims of assault appear before it's actual speech at the presser. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think he's using victims for partisan gain?
Oh God. Okay, this is something I wanted to talk about too because I heard about this. So in my riding, my MP tried to put forward a bill that protects pregnant women from being assaulted. And if you go through this bill, it leaves wide open for even medical professionals if they were to touch a pregnant woman. Like it's basically a pro-life bill. The way he worded it, it didn't get passed. And what Pierre Poilievre was talking about today seemed to come off as the exact same thing.
Oh, a pro-life pitch kind of thing?
Oh, like he's trying to kiss butt in protecting women and domestic abuse and all this stuff. It's just going to move to that.
Yeah, I find it kind of ironic because a lot of the stuff he's voted against recently was things to help women.
He doesn't care unless your clock's still ticking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
shouldn't it
Don't
be to
forget
help
about
all
your
women?
biological clock.
A biological
Shouldn't it be
clock.
to help all women, not just some women? But
Why
all
would
women?
somebody say that?
Pardon me?
Why would somebody say that?
Say what?
What he said.
Who said what?
Well, PP said about the biological clock.
Because
okay.
PP is gross.
said it multiple
Don't you
times.
find that offensive? I'm a man, but don't you find that offensive?
I find it expected. I find it expected that Pierre Poilievre would speak like that because that's how Donald Trump would speak. That's how Republicans would speak. That's what they want to start working on is taking away our rights. That's why they've got
Oh,
Oh no.
he's just repulsive and creepy and
Yeah. Do you know what? On my profile, I'll tell you a little story. You'll see the video. I've got about 176,000 hits on it. When PP was walking off his presser the other day, they asked him a question in French. He walked off. As he was walking off, he looked at Anna. And Anna said to him, okay, he said something to him. And then he walked back to the podium and he says, oh, I forgot. Or he says, I forgot. Anna wanted me to remind you that Mark Carney didn't participate in the TVA debate.
yeah,
That's
that was
pretty bad.
That's a lie.
No, it's not a lie. I've got it right on my site. It's one of my pinned videos. That's not a lie. That actually happened.
No, it happened. Yeah,
Yeah, it happened.
Oh.
yeah.
Do you mind if I
My bad.
interject?
I'm sorry.
Just with something. Do you guys, what's your opinion on Jagmeet Singh having an OnlyFans sponsor?
Well, you know,
That whole thing is not BS, but
It's
who
not
cares?
BS.
Like, who
It's-
cares?
Well, what do you
wow,
guys care?
I
Okay,
kind of
okay.
care because it sounds like the NDP. It's going to hurt the NDP. That's how I care.
If
Okay,
the
here's
Liberal
the thing.
Party had an OnlyFans model as somebody sponsoring them, they would be in big.
Okay, can I ask you
You're
a
right.
question? Hayden, can I ask you a question? What does it matter what someone does in the sacred
Pardon?
what does it matter what someone does on OnlyFans
Mm-hmm.
if it's not pertaining to you?
Yeah, you're
It
right. But,
actually
you know,
has a
unfortunately,
lot to
empowered
do
some of the
because you're
perceptions from some
promoting
people are going to
sexual
hurt the
One at a
behavior
time, please.
online.
One at a time. One at a time. Otherwise, nobody can hear what's going on. So I know that Smarshy asked a question. I don't know who wants to answer it first, but whoever
Hayden.
starts speaking first. Hayden? Okay, Hayden, you speak. Everybody else shut up for a bit.
Go ahead, Hayden. I just want to hear your answer.
Hayden, you just have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted.
That's okay. Did you
You're
hear the
muted
question?
again.
Sorry, guys. I just got something in the oven. Give me a second here. I do baking and stuff.
Cool.
I think, I think everybody does things in life that we obviously can't be all proud of. We all make mistakes, but if you're openly a sex worker, for instance, and you're promoting a political party, I really think that is the wrong spokesperson. I really don't think that is appropriate,
Right.
especially if this is something that you would like to have promoted. Honestly, she's done some. I have not looked into her, but I've just heard that she's done some pretty interesting things that I can't even say on here. So
Okay.
why would you want that person as a spokesperson, even
Eh,
defending what's going on in Gaza?
eh,
It's kind of like,
okay, but here's the thing.
why do we need to care?
She
What
has been
she's
removed. She has been removed from it and from supporting the party. But here's my other question. Why are the conservatives not looking at the fact that Pierre's so against having quote unquote illegal immigrants in our country, yet his very own wife's uncle was undocumented for so many years that magically in 2022 or 2023, someone from the Conservative Party helped him fast track his documentation to be a Canadian citizen. That's a little shady if you ask me.
I don't know enough about the background and what's going on, but honestly, there's been a lot of shady things going on with our immigration system. So
But Hayden, don't you think that's a little bit of your responsibility as a Canadian when we're having these conversations is to maybe know a little bit? And I'm
Yeah.
not like
I'm not supposed
do
to know
your
everything.
research, but don't you think it is important to have some backup before you walk into these conversations or
Yeah.
just have that kind of information
To a certain degree, you can only know so
to
much.
a
So,
certain degree?
yeah, actually, pardon me that I'm supposed to know Pierre Poilievre's, I guess you
No,
would
I just
say,
think
his
that
estranged.
I'm just kind of challenging you. I mean, I was a conservative and I voted conservative for a long time. And there was a point that somebody said something to me, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to know the answer to that. And I don't need to just know the answer that I want to hear. I
Okay,
need to go
can I
check
ask
that
you a question?
answer out. Yeah,
Can I ask you
answer.
a question?
Please do.
What, in the last 9 years with the Liberals in charge, do you think that they've done a good job? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
do think they've done a good job.
Absolutely.
Yes. Excellent.
Now, why have they done a good job? Because we're actually probably in the worst economic crisis in history in Canada.
No,
No, we're
No.
not.
no, we're
No,
not.
we're not. No, we're
No,
not.
we're
Why are
not.
people
So
struggling
we're
to pay
not
their
going to all
bills?
speak
No, we're not.
over. You can
Why are
speak a little
people,
bit
average
and we'll
families, struggling to pay their bills when we've never been
Okay,
this way before?
Hayden.
Can I talk?
Go frontline.
First of all, that would be because of capitalism. Capitalism is a system where you are going to have pretty much on par the same level of inflation that keeps going up year after year after year. We had the same inflation during Harper, our prices went up, but you're not going to feel it as much as because as the prices keep going up and up and up and up and our wages don't keep up with that, it's going to feel tougher and tougher and tougher. But it doesn't matter necessarily if, God, honestly, to be honest, conservatives would have made it worse because they're very pro-corporate and they help the companies that are doing this to us because it is the corporations that are to blame and it's not even just them, it's the system. It's the system where they have to provide more to their shareholders each and every year because this is how capitalism looks at a business. If you're not making more money than you did the year before, then you are failing. So therefore, prices are going to continue to go up. And it wouldn't have been any different under a conservative government. It would have been worse because we actually came out really fucking good in comparison to other countries, especially after the global pandemic. And I'm saying global because every single country in the world was hit. And there were some economies on this globe that absolutely tanked and ours did not. We also have the war in Ukraine that affects everybody because it affects trade routes, which makes things more expensive. So if you take in the global pandemic and you take in the war in Ukraine, we did really good. We did really, really good. But prices are going to keep going up. And don't think that if you vote in conservatives and you're going to see all of a sudden prices come back down to what they were in 2015. That's never going to happen. It's impossible.
Yeah,
It's
frontline. One point I want to make is how many Americans
get a job?
Okay, I just need you both to understand that you're not going to be able to stay if you're speaking over each other. Okay, I'll just keep muting and then I'll drop you. We have to have a civil conversation. Civil conversation means we listen to each other. We let another person speak. So right
Okay,
now, I
fine.
think Hayden asked the question. Hayden asked the question. Frontline responded. Hayden's gonna respond. I'm gonna get you in there, Ed.
So, like, just a quick response then, like, obviously, a lot of things have happened in the last 5 years with COVID, with the war in Ukraine, a few other things. But in my experience in life, I have actually had an extremely hard time, even with an education, to find a job. I had to literally create my own business to survive. Now, if I hadn't done that, I think I'd be homeless. And I would have never had that issue unless the prices of housing and of rent and everything else hadn't skyrocketed in such a way. I couldn't even pay my bills with 3 jobs.
I'm
But
sorry. Where are you from, Hayden? Just for
I'm from
reference.
London, Ontario.
And I forgot to ask you your age. I'm so sorry. Just for TikTok purposes, because we have to be over
32.
32. So London, Ontario, 32. Thank you for giving me that information.
Yeah.
Can I speak after Ed, Miss Radical?
You know what? I'm actually going to let Ed hop on. Oh, you said after Ed. Yeah, let's give Ed a
Yeah,
minute here now.
after Ed.
And
Okay, well, my one point is very, very quick. When you compare the amount of people that died in the United States versus the amount of people that died in Canada and during COVID, Trudeau did an awesome job. Would you guys agree?
yes.
Praised by many world leaders for doing a phenomenal job with what little he had.
But he's also been made fun of by an exponential amount, too. He's a joke in Australia.
No, he's
Actually,
not.
I would beg to differ on that one.
I would say it depends who you're asking. Like if
He's quote unquote only a joke in extreme far right circles and in the, bros that like to do podcasts. So if that's who you're listening to, that's probably why you've heard that about him. But the non-conservatives in Australia definitely don't think anything bad of him. It's only the conservatives across the world that push that liberal leaders across the world are a joke. They say this about the UK government. They say this about, Ukraine's government. They say this about a lot of, they did this with Biden too, right? They did the exact same thing with Biden. Biden was terrible. Biden caused all these horrible things to happen when the numbers weren't even based in reality that they were using. So if you're hearing that Justin Trudeau was a joke, it's probably coming from a conservative right-wing media source.
No, like, he's the only person in Canadian history that decided to do the Emergencies Act over probably the most un-emergency thing you could ever imagine. It's ridiculous.
3-week occupation that messed up people's businesses, that made it so that people couldn't even sleep at night because of the incessant honking. Like, it wasn't, it was a 3-week occupation. How many 3-week occupations have you seen in this country? Most protests last about an hour or two.
Hayden, you're speaking over people, and I reminded
Was
you.
there a 3-week occupation of a city for Free Palestine? Was there?
Yes, there was. Do you not remember the states where they actually held Columbia?
We're in Canada. We're in Canada.
They were doing the same thing at Western University in London. Do you guys not?
Okay, were they blocking a city? Were they incessantly
They were
honking?
blocking streets. They were blocking access. They were doing all the same things. Did you guys not know?
And they
that?
were threatening the PM's life and the Solicitor General's life.
They were still.
It's just
They were blocking.
like the comparisons are kind of.
Were they funded by organizations in a foreign country? Was there plans to impeach the government? Like, I don't know.
So, okay, like, do you think that the Palestine protests were out of control in the States, yes or no?
Can I say something? I really want to say something.
Yeah, actually, go ahead.
Here's an example I want to make. He enacted the Emergencies Act to clear out the convoy occupation in Ottawa because of what it was causing. Are you aware of what happens when Indigenous people blockade their own land?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what happens to them?
Arrested.
Yeah, by like literal SWAT teams that come in there and clear them out. So for him to enact an emergency act for a city to get these people out of the city, yeah, it deserves to happen.
So you support the government doing what they did? Is that true? Yes, me too.
Yes,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Hayden.
They, you know what? I know people in Ottawa, they still have PTSD from that convoy occupation.
Well, I heard, I can't even say it on live, but I was walking down Western University and I literally heard in the Free Palestine protest, they were yelling, baby grapers and baby killers. That's what they were saying.
And Alivers.
It was ridiculous.
Ridiculous when children are actually being targeted in Palestine to be
Yeah.
unalived by the Israeli government. How is that?
And
And
then
how
I'm
does
also
how does
hearing
one
people
day
saying that it
protest
was
from what
that
you
the
yeah, how does
actual
one day protest to equate to almost 3 weeks of Ottawa being occupied?
Just also be
actually
super
the
clear.
Free
Hold on.
Palestine protest been going on for almost like a year and a half.
Can you
This
just
is way long.
can you just let me speak for a second? One protest, just to put it in clear perspective for everybody, one protest is protesting G-side. They are protesting an actual G-side of human beings. The other protest was about a vaccine temporary mandate and masks. Very freaking different.
So,
Also, a lot of side effects that are coming out from the vaccines.
okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Hayden. I just want to say this and then I'll be quiet for, um, there was an effigy of our prime minister during that occupation. They also were letting their animals defecate on the memorial of Terry Fox. Yes, there were some indigenous people there. I get it. And the thing is, they also burnt the Canadian flag, which is not illegal. That is
Before,
absolutely
yeah.
okay. Ed, please, can I finish my thought? Please, can we?
Just finish it, Smart.
Okay. Again, there was an refugee with a rope around his neck. There was people being threatened. There was people being hurt. They blocked the border to the U.S. where people actually lost their jobs. Like, there's so much more to this than just a protest. I've never been to any protest in my 42 years of life. Okay, in my 41, almost 42 years of life, never have I been a protest where there is a bunch of kids being used as shields, or there is a, a hot tub or a bouncy castle. None of that stuff has ever been around a protest I went in the 41, almost 42 years of my life. I've never seen that. That whole thing was because of the fact that they heard the word no. It is not a privilege. It is a privilege in Canada to have a job. It is not a right. The right that we have in Canada is shelter, food, and water. That is all, and medical. That is it. That is all the rights we are afforded in Canadian and by the Canadian Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada. That is what we are afforded. You have the right to make the decision to not get the vaccine. Your employer have the right to not employ you. There's a difference.
Okay, Smart. Thanks. Ed, did you want to respond to that?
I just wanted to make one other point that you were just mentioning there, sorry, Empowered, is they actually urinated on the tomb of the unknown soldier. That was very, very disgusting. That's all I have to say. You know, that really blew me away. It was just like, what? You know, you guys do know that, eh?
Yeah. Curious Leaf, what would you like to share with us?
Like to me, this whole thing, when I don't want to talk about Palestine, I don't feel like I don't have any permission from the Palestinian people to have an opinion on it. I respect everything they do, and what's happening to them. It's horrible. I think the occupation in Ottawa was selfish, pure selfish. And if you are to stand up for what they did, even if it wasn't all people doing it, the fact that how long they were there And what they did, if you think what they did was good, that is selfish because of the hundreds of thousands of people they were affecting just for the few hundred that were there doing what they're doing. It is selfish. And to think that not enacting the Emergencies Act to get them out of there wasn't a good thing. Like, I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Hayden, would you like to respond?
Can I just have a quick question? Hayden, what was the where was that 3-week Palestinian protest that you talked about?
Oh, it was more than 3 weeks. It was going on. They were literally living on the campus at Western University.
Okay, but living on a campus and not living on a campus and disrupting a city are two different things. You said they were disrupting the city the same way that the freedom. So what city and when did it happen?
I don't have the exact date, not memorized, but I do. I actually called the police because they're blocking traffic.
Okay, well, I'm searching it up right now, and so far I'm not seeing any long-term protest that was as big as you say. That was similar to the Freedom Convoy. Which university? Which university? Weston?
No, Western. Like Eastern, Western.
Western.
Like, honestly, like, you might, I have no idea what Google or whatever is going to have information, but I have my own experiences going into the mall. They were literally occupying areas where they were just laying on the ground and protesting and saying, we are all bodies of dead guys. And just like, oh my God, Christmas shopping. Like, can we just have some peace, guys?
And this was
so wait a minute, you feel uncomfortable because they were protesting genocide?
If they're getting in my face and actually making me feel uncomfortable, yeah, I do.
That's white privilege.
And why were they getting in your face?
Are you actually being racist?
What?
There is no such thing as racism towards white people because in order for racism to be a thing, you have to be disenfranchised.
There's racism.
No, you don't understand. There's bullying. People can be bullied, but being racist means that like racism has to do with he dropped, but it has to do with people actually being disenfranchised in society. You are not disenfranchised as a white person living in a Western society. That's just because you're bothered by somebody's words doesn't mean that the system itself is disenfranchising you for your race. Whereas for the BIPOC community, the system itself is disenfranchising them for their race.
I'm sorry, but I call it out when I see it, and I'm not going to apologize. I don't apologize for my words.
Nobody asked you to, Archie. Nobody asked you.
Because being uncomfortable when people are protesting a atrocity to people, and you feel uncomfortable because you're Christmas shopping, that's white privilege. And that's white fragility when you drop like that, like a little... Oh, I gotta go sit down for a minute.
And it is. I mean, when I was having my baby in the hospital, I was sitting in a room, and just for context, in the Foothills Hospital in Calgary, and I was so excited thinking about my baby when in the next curtain over, there were social workers going to visit the Indigenous lady, and they weren't having the same conversations they were having with me.
No.
I can guarantee you.
I had the same thing happen to me. It's gross.
Yeah. It's really gross.
That goes to show, though, who the Pure Poilievre supporters are. That was a really good example. People that are saying that it's an inconvenience to remind them that there's a genocide happening across the globe, just because, that makes them feel uncomfortable while they're buying Christmas presents. That's what's wrong with the world. Straight up. If people actually cared...
I honestly question his truth to that story because I honestly just don't buy it. Some of the shit I hear them come back and say that leftists got in their way, that people in a Palestinian protest went and jumped in their face. Like, I'm sorry, I call bullshit on that. I absolutely call bullshit on that. People, unless you were screaming something at them, those people were going to protest. They were not going to fight with you. It's not in their nature.
And the fact that he said without a fucking shadow of a doubt that he called the cops, that is showing
Yes,
your white privilege, my dude. I'm sorry.
100%.
I just
Not
don't know
sorry,
how
but you
they
did.
don't differentiate the difference between what happened to the convoy and if there was a Palestine person jumping in front of his face. Like, how do you not differentiate the two? Like,
Because I think they're using Palestine to divide leftists. And so they constantly are throwing Palestine in every conversation that they can get into in every possible way. That's just my thoughts.
I mean, it's
I
really,
think they genuinely don't care about Palestinians because it doesn't affect them. It's not in their everyday
yeah.
lives. And so when it comes to the Freedom Convoy, that they felt like, they were so severely affected because they couldn't go out and eat at a restaurant if they didn't want to protect others by getting vaccinated. So that really disenfranchised, and some of them lost their jobs because they refused to be vaccinated. And so they
Right.
were very, very angry, and that had to do with them and their personal problems. So they felt much more justified to do what they did versus Palestinian people or pro-Palestinian people that are literally making a statement to say that this is not okay. Like, it is literally it's like protesting what was happening in, late 1930s Germany, and somebody being mad at you that you're like, oh, I can't believe that you're protesting people being sent away into camps and murdered, like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But again,
Yeah.
just like Smarshy said, it doesn't affect them. They're across the world and they're not white tea.
Yeah.
Exactly. So don't throw the white privilege line here. It's bullshit.
Mhm.
Wrong? No, it is very much a thing. And if you cannot see, it's not me saying that all white people have to feel bad. It's just me saying that you are privileged because the color of your skin, because I unfortunately don't have that privilege. I have a proximity to whiteness, but I don't have. Oh, he was very privileged. He was very privileged.
Well, we have some opposition in the chat. Like, you're more than welcome to request to come up. Just Scott, and look, it's fragile white man.
It's fragile. It's the white fragility for me and the white privilege that I'm seeing more and more. Don't bring race in everything. Well, race has everything to do with this, my dude. It does. Unfortunately.
Come on up.
Frederick.
When people say, don't bring race into politics, it's really hard not to when there's a specific political party that is constantly beating down on other races. And, look at what's happening in the United States. We know for a fact now, without a shadow of a doubt, that there was legal United States citizens that were sent to El Salvador because they weren't white tea and they maybe had some freaking tattoo that the Trump administration could say, oh, they're a gang member, when they realized that no, actually they were just a regular human. But, it was easy to just send them away into a prison in El Salvador. Look at the woman that got picked up off the side of the road the other day in front of a university, right? And these are all non-white tea people that are being sent away, put away. And a lot of them are actual legal citizens that are just getting mixed into that because of their race. So don't tell me that race doesn't belong in politics. When unfortunately, what about freaking PP talking to the John A. McDonald statue the other day? Don't tell me that race has nothing to do with...
started. Oh,
That made me so sick. The thing
When
is,
I
though,
hear people say race playing into politics, I hear people say, what comes to my head immediately is when somebody says, oh, I don't see color when I see
right,
something.
exactly. It's dehumanizing. And here's the thing. When you when you sit there and say, oh, no, 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 blah, 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 this, that, and the other. My literal family in the United States who are Navajo were put into Guantanamo Bay. So don't tell me this shit hasn't anything to do with race. It's happening all over the United States of America right fucking now. And it's going to come up to Canada one way or the other. So me and
Is
my
there someone
brother,
requesting to come up, Frontline? Just Scott? There he is.
Oh, I'm gonna get beat up. Great.
oh
Hello.
no, no one's
You
gonna beat
requested
anyone
to
up.
come up, my dude.
No, no one's
Oh,
beating you up.
well, come on, ladies. I actually
You
appreciate
can't
your
break.
opinion. Hold on. Can I say something before you beat me up? I
We're not here
appreciate
to
Say
your
beat
something.
anyone up.
opinions, and I try to understand where you guys come from every time you guys talk and post, and I'm trying to be neutral in everything.
Okay.
So now we continue.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to speak. That was so kind of you,
Oh
sir.
my god!
It was just a joke. Relax.
I thought
I'm
my
just
wife
being
jumped in.
facetious.
Okay, go ahead.
No, okay. But here's the thing. You gotta understand something, okay? When indigenous people are on the front line of having their rights and treaties taken away, it does bring race into it. And when someone says they felt uncomfortable because they were protesting outside of the shopping mall when they were going shopping for Christmas presents and they felt uncomfortable, that's where that guy's white privilege comes into because
So
he feels uncomfortable in a certain situation.
he-
And that's not fair.
here's the problem with politics versus voting. I think a majority of Canadians actually vote continuously for non-war intervention and Indigenous rights. Unfortunately, we don't hold our politicians accountable for that. Which
Absolutely.
I don't
You'll
know
have,
That's
how you
true.
stop that because I think every time there's an election, Indigenous rights are a major value.
right.
Where they claim they're going to do this, and they never do. Like liberal, NDP, conservative, they're all guilty of this, right?
Yes, but here's
But
the
the
thing.
liberals have done more for Indigenous
Yeah.
rights than a
Yes, they
lot
have.
of other parties in the in the
Very
past.
much
Sorry,
so.
like if
But
you
they're
want, I
still
can work
guilty
on
of
creating a
some
list.
stuff. They're still guilty of not doing enough.
Right,
They've
and
They
that's
have
done
the
true.
more.
power.
But this last liberal government with Trudeau in, he did more for us than anyone has ever done for us.
Okay, so that's like having like several ex-boyfriends where one
Mm-mm,
abused you less
mm-mm,
than the other.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
No,
No.
no, no. Truly, I'm telling you, I actually expected a lot more from Trudeau government to help you guys than conservative, who I vote for, which I keep voting for, like to fix the problems in Northern Ontario. So I'm originally from Ontario. Okay, so like they keep saying they're going to fix it, they don't. So when a party says
Can I
they're
bring something in for some perspective since we were trying to make that analogy with the boyfriends. Okay. Voting is like being pushed into a relationship whether you like it or not. You don't have a
Exactly.
choice, right?
oh my
Okay.
god, yes.
Listen, right? So you're pushed into a relationship whether you like it or not. It's like having, super Christian parents that are like, we're going to take everything away from you if you don't marry these, like a choice of one of these guys. And then you look at the guys and you're like, okay, well, this one's really bad. This one's maybe not so bad, and this one's better. Even if they're not perfect, you're still going to choose the least aggressive, the least detrimental out of the choices that you have because you're being forced into it. So when it comes to voting, it's kind of like that. Since we're being forced into a relationship, whether we like it or not, should we not choose the party that has the least amount of bad policy and of ways
Okay.
of disenfranchising us?
So
I'd
me
like to
let
say
me.
something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's the exact same way that I look at this situation when going into election. And just FYI, I don't vote liberal. I don't go into an election looking, well, I am this sort of party, so I'm always going to vote for this party. I'm always going to look at which one's going to be the less detrimental to my nation. And when I'm looking at someone who is idolizing John A. MacDonald, who
Yep.
literally starved out the indigenous populations to force them into treaties, and idolize him building railways. So he wants to build his pipelines and knock down all barriers to build these pipelines. That means he wants to take out the indigenous voices of going through their land and extracting resources from their land as well. So
Yes.
what is more of a threat to indigenous people? Someone who openly aligns himself with someone like that and what he wants to do, or someone who's already said that he wants to work with indigenous people? This is a
Right.
very sensitive topic for me.
And see, the thing is, what like everybody is talking about, what is the thing that the Canadian government has to do for the Indigenous people? Uphold the treaties. Let us have our rights. Don't infringe upon when you are doing it. When you want to put a pipeline in, consultation has to be had with the
Marsh, I'd
Indigenous
like to
people.
give him a chance to respond to Curious Leaf.
You can go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. You're muted.
Okay, so this is a very sensitive topic, so I'm going to try and be very careful of my words. So I apologize if I offend anybody. I really don't mean to. So like, Indigenous rights are very common when it comes to getting a vote. Okay, and this is both parties. PC are guilty of it, Liberals are guilty of it, NDP are guilty of it. And I guess my response is I don't vote when I don't believe in the leader that's going to run the show. So, like, I'm 50. Multiple times the PCs have been running for elections where I don't vote because I'm like, I can't vote Liberal, but I'm not going to vote for this guy. So I
Scott, I have just one quick question. Do you know the response that Pierre Poilievre has had towards Indigenous individuals?
um
Have you seen those responses?
I don't believe.
Calling them
Listen, I'm gonna
lazy.
be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't believe any leader till they do something. So they can all
He did.
talk.
He
They can
called
talk all
them
the gold.
lazy.
Hold on. They can talk all the gold they want about doing a great thing, but until they do something, I don't believe them. PC, Liberal, NDP, I don't believe any of them. Like, and like,
You're
listen,
not answering
Indigenous,
my
hold
question.
on. Indigenous is not my priority, but if you can't keep your promise
You sound
on
like Stephen
things,
Harper.
I'm not going to believe you.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
hold on. If you can't keep your promise on one thing you're going to say you're going to do, I don't believe you on the other stuff. So, like, if you cannot keep your promise, what you're saying, okay, like, listen, like I said, Indigenous is not my priority, but if you're promising something for the Indigenous and you don't provide, I'm not going to believe you for the next election.
Okay, so this is what Polyev said about our Indigenous community. Hold on, here we go. Indigenous people need to learn the value of hard work more than they need the compensation for abuse suffered at residential school. Is that someone you can get behind?
I'm telling you right now.
That's a yes or no question, I think.
That's a yes or no question. It's not a well. Let me think about. No, it's a yes or no
So I
question.
live
Can you get
beside Brant.
behind that?
Hold on. I live beside Brantford, Ontario, which is a very prosperous Indigenous nation, and I saw absolute poverty and I saw absolute wealth in a very small community. And I'll tell you that if you want to succeed in Canada,
No, that's
you
not.
can.
You have to answer the question. Kind of platforming
Give
yourself
me a
right now.
second. Give me a
I'm
second.
giving you plenty of
I'm
seconds.
saying that I don't trust any leader right now unless they actually put a little horsepower to their policies. So, like Pierre Poilievre saying that, okay, it's a stupid saying. It like legitimately is. And then
It
he
was
said later, hold on. Then he's going to say later on, he's going to give all the councils all the rights for their mineral rights, so they can be prosperous. So, which one do you believe?
I don't believe any of it. I believe he doesn't care about the Indigenous people. He
So
wants to make us. He wants to make.
who believes?
You're interrupting. So you got to wait for her to finish speaking, and we're just going to have this respectful back and forth with each other. Go ahead and finish your sentence,
The
Moshi.
fact that he sits here and idolizes a man who once put our community into residential
Mark,
schools.
you've got to hear what he said. It's not his priority. That's not in
Okay,
his,
sorry.
like,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
not in
okay,
his bubble.
got you.
It's not his top priority. I'm not defending it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But
Okay,
he's
I'll
told
see.
us
Yeah,
who he is, like,
yeah,
right at that moment, right?
yeah. Okay, so if you don't think that you can vote for this man, that shows me you have no level of humanity, sir. You, at that point, have now erased every hope of humanity that I would have had for you because you're telling me my rights don't matter. That leaves matter don't matter. All the indigenous people's votes or lives don't matter when you say it's not my priority. That's a white privilege remark, and I don't apologize for it.
Okay, go ahead, just Scott.
I never said that.
You did.
I said no. I said I don't trust the politicians when they
You
make
said this isn't my biggest issue.
and they do not back what they say.
You
Like
said
from
it
the
wasn't your
beginning.
biggest issue.
Yeah.
It wasn't
So
an
what I
issue
said
for
is
you.
all these politicians make Indigenous their priority, yet never back it up.
Can I just interject with some actual things that the Liberals have done since 2015 for the Indigenous community? Because they actually have held a lot of their promises. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? They invested in mental health programs for Indigenous communities. They acknowledged the intergenerational trauma caused by residential schools. They allocated funds to assist in locating and commemorating unmarked graves at former residential school sites. They supported the establishment of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation. They committed over $1.2 billion to ensure First Nations children receive health or necessary health, social and educational services. They should have invested more for sure, but they did put that money in there. They invested in culturally appropriate early learning and childcare programs that were tailored specifically for Indigenous communities. They eliminated 86% of the water boil advisories. And yes, it should have been longer. I mean, it should have been 100%, but hey, 86% is still better than the 0% that other governments did. Since 2017, they signed 33 new agreements recognizing Indigenous rights and supporting self-determination. They passed legislation to implement the United Nations declarations of the right of the Indigenous people. They introduced a $5 billion program to provide Indigenous communities with access to capital for natural resource and energy projects. They established to support Indigenous entrepreneurs and businesses, fostering economic growth within communities. They allocated nearly $243 million to support First Nations students in post-secondary education. They committed over $6.7 billion since 2015 to support housing in Indigenous communities. Unfortunately, though, that still needs to be handled by the provincial governments once the money is given to the provinces, and that's a problem. They enacted legislation to support the revitalization and preservation of Indigenous languages, establishing the Office of the Commissioner of Indigenous Languages. I'm done.
That's actually really good. When it comes to the provinces with housing, anybody who's lived close to reserve knows that that is a loophole that needs to be solved to fix that problem, because there's a gap between the federal and provincial government when it comes to housing. So like that's something that's got to be fixed. When it comes to water, listen, I'm gonna tell everybody. I got friends of mine in Northern Ontario that have contracts for trying to fix the water problem. It's a scam. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it's a scam. Like, you look at who had bad water in the 90s, who's got bad water now, there's not a change. And there's been a lot of money spent. It is an absolute scam that's happening with no checks or balances. And it's
I
horrible.
don't, it's, yeah, you know, so I don't necessarily buy into that. It could be what you believe, But I don't like, unless you've got receipts to back it up, or you can tell us more than just your feelings. But, you know, conservatives have told us for years that
Oh,
we
no,
were
no.
never going to get
This
clean
isn't
water
conservative
into
liberal. This
it.
is no.
Conservatives have told us for years that we were never going to get clean water into those places, or that we
No.
were never going to be able to do the things we were able to do. And we may not have got it all accomplished, but they have been able to do a lot.
So you misunderstand. I'm not saying this is a party thing. I'm not saying this is federal. This is a conservative liberal thing like politics. I'm saying federal government sucks at this. Like, period. I don't care who's in power. They do. I know lots of people here say that liberals are better than conservatives or vice versa. That's fine, but they both really suck at this. So if this is your priority, they both failed. Like, this has been a discussion. I'm 50 years old. I remember hearing this when I was 10. That's
So
a
then
long time ago.
is your take then like no government's a good government, you know what I mean? And we should just all blow up the system, and, you know, we should just start over again, even though
I see a hand up. Let's go for that one.
I do too. No, I'm asking you, it's my life. I'm asking you that question.
Okay, so do I? Okay, hold on. Do I think that our government needs a revamp to figure out systems better to actually do
No,
the
no, no.
proper?
I'm asking you, are you one of those people that are like, yeah, I don't vote, the system sucks, like,
I
you
vote.
know,
I said I vote.
okay, you vote, but then you're going, well, they're both all just bad. It's the
Well,
government.
when I'm voting for the worst of two negatives, that's not the best way to vote. Like, that's how I vote. Who's going to do the least amount of damage? That's not the way to vote. That's not prosperity for Canada.
I
That
think
is
it all
who's
depends
going
on
to
how
hurt
you
the
look
least.
at it. I listened to Curious Leaf, and she said, I vote for how did you say that, Curious Leaf? Who's going to do the best for your nation?
Yeah, I'm a person who believes in all Canadians doing well. I'm going to vote for the person that is going to do well for all Canadians, not just a select group of people. And when I see someone who is openly picking and choosing who his favorites are going to be, I'm not going to vote for that person. And this person is a threat because of the threats he's already made towards Indigenous First Nations people.
Exactly.
So, can I
And
respond to that?
I just want to quickly say, I don't want to tell you how to think. I'm just saying that, you know, perspectives walking into thinking about how you're voting is very important too, right? And I really like the take she had on it. But go ahead,
I
respond.
I think the two majority parties in Canada are absolutely corrupt, and it bothers me that we don't have a system that we can hold our leaders accountable. And the problem is for them so that we can hold them accountable for what they do, they have to give up power. And I don't see any leader want to give up power. So, like, I agree with you, but the problem is that I don't see any green pastures for what we're being shown right now. Like, so comes a Pierre Poilievre. I told you I vote conservative. I'm not that thrilled with him. Like, legitimately, I'm not. Carney, I am not that thrilled either. Okay, so NDP, Jagmeet Singh, listen, this guy will not take care of anybody. So, like, where do I go? Do I do the People's Party? Do I do Green? Well, how does that help you? So, like, once again, we're at a system right now where I've got so limited options.
Look for
I
greener pastures, Canada. Vote for Canada.
So what's voting for Canada? What's voting for
Can I say
Canada?
something real
It's
quick?
not Pierre Poilievre. Go ahead, Smarsh.
Hold on. I brought up another person on the panel because I thought it would be nice to have another guy up here. So why don't we just let him speak a little bit?
Empowered as
Honest Thomas.
for a long time. I'd really like to hear what they have to say, and then I'd be happy to jump in. But they've been very patient.
I was just gonna say, I vote for my community. I don't vote just for my indigenous community. I vote for all communities in this country because I want everyone to have equal rights. Because unlike certain people, I do believe in humanity. I believe everyone's rights matter. So when I vote for Curious Leaf. I vote for Frontline. I vote for Honest. I vote for Sasquatch. I don't just vote for myself and my family. I vote because I'm trying to keep my family safe. I'm trying to keep my family alive. I'm trying to keep everyone alive. That's how I vote.
I thank you.
Thanks,
I
Marsh.
yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you guys letting me up. Look, I'm a cis hetero white male. I don't know that it's my place to say this, but Scott, you've already made things very clear. You said, I only vote when I like the conservative leader that's in power. So what you're telling me is that you're never going to vote for any other party, but you will vote for the conservatives if you like the guy. You haven't made any mention of your local MP or the community or how that would be affected. Unless you live in the Carleton riding, you're not voting for Pierre. You're gonna say that I don't care what they say, it's all about action, and then you're provided with substantial evidence to say that action has been taken by the Liberal Party, and then substantial evidence that says that Pierre Poilievre has said terrible things about the Indigenous communities, but you're still going to defend him. Like, I have a really hard time understanding that at all, dude.
Well, Scott, if you're still in the chat and you want to come back up because you accidentally dropped or something, please go ahead and request and I'll bring you back up. I think it's a good conversation to keep having. I know that even though Scott has different opinions than us, he's still actually a very respectful conversationalist. So he's able to keep his cool. He's a nice dude.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I did a flip up and I didn't mean to leave. I apologize.
Oh, awesome.
Welcome back.
I missed that part of the conversation. I jumped back as quick as I could. What did he just say?
Well, so I brought up a few things. First of all, you said that at first you said you don't vote, and then you say you do, but only when you believe in the conservative leader. So you're not going to vote for any other party regardless, but if you like the guy that's leading your party, you will vote, and you will vote for him. But unless you live in Carleton, you're not voting for him. So you've made no account for your municipal MP that's going to work towards your community. On top of that, you mentioned that you don't care what government officials say unless there's action behind it. And yet you've been presented with evidence that shows that action has been taken to help the Indigenous communities by the Liberal Party. Whereas Pierre Poilievre, you've been shown substantial evidence to show that he doesn't really seem to care and has some quite bad things to say about it.
Okay, so I apologize that I jumped out of the conversation, so they had to repeat that. What I said from the beginning is, if I do not believe in my MP, I do not vote for him. So yes, I vote conservative, but abstaining is saying you don't have my vote. I'm not going to vote liberal to say that I don't believe this guy. So that's point one. So if I think there's a bad guy running for leadership or running in my district, I won't vote for them. Okay? It doesn't mean I'm going to do opposition party, even though probably in some instances they should have half-handed them or go through the courts. But that's another topic. When it comes to the other fact, I said from the beginning, Indigenous rights are not my priority. But when I see someone screaming Indigenous rights get votes, and I don't see them fulfill those promises, I don't trust them anymore. So that's conservative or liberal on both sides. So I hold them both accountable for this. Like, even though Indigenous rights are not my priority, that's a really good telltale about what you're going to do with the rest of the population. So, like the last 10 years, we watched a very wonderful politician promise the world and did nothing. Like, okay, you can say he did all this stuff, but in all honesty, I've got friends of mine that are involved in the communities. I got friends of mine that have contracts with communities. They're still screaming for help. And you look at Northern Ontario communities, they're not in good shape. And this is back to Mulrooney times. We're not even talking just liberal, like conservative, liberal, conservative. We can run them all back, okay? And they're suffering badly. So, in my opinion, and it comes to Pierre Poilievre, he's made some claims that he's going to help Indigenous do something. Okay, that's not my ground rock to hold against. But you just promised something I've seen every leader back out of. I'm going to give you my vote right now, first time. And if you don't back it, I'm not going to vote for you the next time. And I think that's an honest view about my values, saying if you do not do what you say, I won't back you. I will abstain from the elections, which gives a liberal vote over mine. That's okay. You can do that.
I have a hard time with that myself because you already know, he's already said outright that he doesn't respect them. Just by the wording he's used, I am not Indigenous. I have a hard time speaking on this 100%. Go ahead, Thomas, or somebody else.
Sorry, I was just going to say, sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
I just think about the recent opening up of the Ring of Fire that he discussed. It was something that Mark Carney also discussed. The difference is Mark Carney actually went and talked to the Indigenous leaders and the Premier of Nunavut.
So did Wynne in 2000 and 1998. The Ring of Fire.
I don't care about that. You're saying Pierre says he's going to work with these people, but he isn't. Did Pierre meet with any of the leaders of the Indigenous communities?
Scott, it doesn't work if you speak over people. Sorry.
Did Pierre work with any of the Indigenous leaders in any of this campaign thus far? You say he says he's going to work with them. I don't know where there's any evidence of that.
Go ahead, Scott.
Turn on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I talk too much. Ring of Fire. How long has the Ring of Fire been known about? Anybody know?
Oh, I can add to your comment, Miss Radical, after Scott's gone.
Okay, so Ring of Fire has been known since the mid 90s. Okay, mid 90s. So now we're talking Chrétien, we're talking Martin, we're talking Trudeau, and whoever's next. Who is actually?
We're talking about Pierre Poilievre.
Hold on. Who has helped the Indigenous community in Northern Ontario that has wanted the Ring of Fire since the mid 90s? Who's helped?
I don't think anybody asked you that question.
Okay, so like they've all failed. They all get an F.
I love
everyone
Harper out of that, by the way.
Yeah,
you won't answer the question. Nobody's asked you about what happened in 95. We're talking about Pierre Poilievre in the here and now. So answer the question in the here and now, please.
Oh, okay, here and now. Don't have the answer. I'm going to be honest with you guys.
I
don't
do.
Have the answer.
I actually do, because I'm actually an Indigenous person from Canada. I only speak on myself, and I can guarantee you if you read the Declaration of 2023, or anything he says about the indigenous community. He wants to make us one of the richest people and take our minerals and take everything we have. That's all he wants to do, is take everything we have and make us the richest nations of all nations, because that's what he wants. The minerals, so he can sell them off and give us sweet nothing.
Okay,
Absolutely
so
nothing. We get peanuts to the dollar for that. That's what it is.
so the pre-treaty what you guys have when it comes to indigenous nations, you guys get royalties, correct?
Leaf, do you want to take this one? Because I'm not really informed in the treaty area. I
No,
know
no,
it's
you
from.
get royalties with your treaties. Actually, the indigenous in Canada, when it comes to royalties, are far superior than the states. Like far superior. You guys
Yeah.
actually have control of royalties.
But here's the thing. No, actually we don't. The royalties we get go into First Nations trust
Well,
accounts. And
hold on.
guess who?
I agree.
No,
Hold on. I want to say.
Let
I
me
want to
say.
say. Well, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. I agree with you. You guys are screwed federally on the royalties. I agree with you. That needs to be revamped. So before
Okay,
you get
but
mad at me and yell at me, I'm saying yes.
I'm not
Federally,
yelling at you,
when it comes to
sir. I'm
royalties,
not
you're
yelling
getting
at you,
screwed.
sir.
Smarsh, just let him talk.
Okay.
Like legitimately, what Jesus, the premier before Trudeau, I forget his name. Martin. Not Martin. What was
No,
his name?
Harper.
Before
Harper.
Trudeau, that was
Harper screwed
Harper.
you guys on that one. Very much so. Like that pissed me off when he did that. And we need to revamp back to the Chrétien theories where you guys actually had
No.
a vote on this. And I disagree because when it comes to federal environmental minerals and that stuff, you guys should have a proper percentage that actually helps your nation, and then a proper percent of jobs that comes to that industry that happens in that area.
Okay, here's the
So,
thing though. Real quick, Gaius, and then you can go. The First Nations trust account should have about $2 trillion today, as of today, and have $35 billion in interest as of 2024. The Canadian government was actually told by the Supreme Court to hand over the trust accounts to the Indigenous people. You know what they said? They can't, because there's no money in it. Because everything that has been infrastructure has been taken from the trust accounts of First Nations. All the surpluses, you wonder where your surplus came from? Yep, that's right. First Nations trust accounts. They have been taking money from the Indigenous people and squandering it away, and they don't have enough to pay it back, because if they did, it would decimate Canada.
Okay,
That's
so
a fact.
here's my agreement with you. The federal government has no accountability for what they do, and unfortunately, the Canadian population does not hold them accountable. I agree with you. These slush funds that should help you guys, me, and everything else, they just spend it. How do we hold them accountable? I agree with you. We need to
but you
hold them
prop up
accountable.
the same people. But you prop up the same people that you're saying that you want to hold
I
accountable.
don't prop them
So how
up.
can those be? You've said that you're voting conservative, or that you
I
were
said
conservative.
hold on. I said
Did
I
you?
vote conservative, but
Okay.
if I do not agree with the leader, I abstain vote. I do that constantly. I think in the last 30 years, I voted in 4 elections. That's not the majority. I abstain my vote.
But
And
how does
like,
that actually help anything when you're saying you abstain your vote? Like, so you're basically like, well, I don't like what he did, so I'm just not gonna vote. That's a good thing. Instead of like I am what I would call a swing voter. I have to work
okay.
really hard to get all the
So,
information from all the parties and check out what's going on there before I'm going to make my vote. I'm not married to a party. I don't like football politics.
so me not voting in a federal election or provincial is the same thing as you voting opposition to me giving you a double vote.
I don't know about that because you're
No.
still
So like, hold
married
on.
to the
So like,
same people.
so where do
No,
you
but
where do
you're
you live?
still in the relationship. So if you see somebody being abusive and you just turn your back and you're like,
No,
yeah,
no, no,
not
no, 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 no,
tonight,
no, no, no,
on.
no, no, no.
But
That's
you're
not even the
still
same
with
thing.
that
No,
abusive person and you prop that person up.
I get
You're
charged. Hold
still
on,
the
stop.
problem.
I get
No, I'm
charged
not
for
gonna
that.
stop. I'm in
I
my
get charged
life.
for that
This is
because I
my
stopped
life.
that. I guess
This is
no.
my
Listen,
love.
I've been under charges for stopping what you just said. So don't even insinuate I do not get involved if I see someone being abused where I get involved. That's not the
Here.
same thing.
Okay. It is the
That is,
same thing though. When
no,
you
that is
still prop
extreme.
up abuse, you still prop up abuse. No
That's
matter which way
extreme.
you look at it, abuse is abuse. But
You're
Scott, it's not just about me and you in this conversation. There's a whole panel of individuals and we have somebody new up. Hello, how are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
Is that
Oh,
happy?
sorry.
How's it going?
Sorry. I just ate a bunch of donuts. Um, I'm good, thank you. How are you? Happy Friday,
Good.
everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. Um, just
Fantastic.
there's a couple of nagging things that I can't get out of my head. And when we talk about respectful discourse, it's not necessarily the tone in your voice that really determines whether or not you're being disrespectful or dehumanizing or not, but really it's the context of what you're saying. And when you say that indigenous rights are not your bedrock or your priority, then that draws a line in the sand between you and I. And I feel like I'm not the one being divisive here. I just want you to understand that there is no bridge we can cross if you do not recognize that Indigenous rights are a priority in this country for the majority of Canadians. And it should be. And the second thing I want to talk about is when you mention slush funds, what are you talking about?
Go ahead, just Scott. I think that's for you.
Oh, I know it's for me. This gentleman
I'm not
hounds.
gentle.
I know you're not. Okay, so not my priority. Let's do the indigenous. What I'm saying is, and I said this quite clear through the entire conversation, indigenous rights are not the priority of who I vote for. But if you break a promise to your indigenous votes, which you say you're going to do, that makes me second guess your
Yeah, I think
qualities.
that's a good way of discounting the efforts that are put
Oh,
forward in
stop.
achieving reconciliation
Oh,
when you
stop. Your
actually
side is
put
just as
things
guilty as
in.
mine.
So when somebody is actually putting work in
Stop.
and you're trying to
Happy.
tear them down from the sidelines, this becomes a you issue and not a we issue
Okay,
because at
so
least we're
happy.
working towards a
Happy.
solution,
How
right?
great is your side versus my side on this priority?
It,
They
it, it
both.
is it this is a net zero.
Oh,
This is a net
Jesus
zero.
Christ.
This is if you are not on the side of equality and equal representation, then you are on a side of prejudice.
Come on. They
I
both
don't know what to
suck.
tell you.
Admit it. They both suck.
I'd like to hear what Curious Lee thinks. I haven't heard much from her for a bit. Smarsh, do you want to chime in? Oh, wait, she's back here. She goes.
I feel like
Hi.
everyone's doing a good job talking about it. I understand that indigenous issues aren't your priority because you're not part of that population, but the general consensus of things is what you might complain about in your community directly contribute to indigenous people in some cases.
So can I before Happy jumps on me, because he's gonna in a second. What I'm gonna say is I hear federal policies promising all these stuff, and then I will back them and vote for them. And then if they do not give 80% of their promises, and I actually give probably 100% on Indigenous because, like, listen, guys, I'm a white guy. You look at my ass, you know I'm white. But, like, this is one of the priorities when it comes to elections. So, like, if you're going to give a promise to Indigenous and then you don't back it up, I don't trust you the next time. Okay? And that's my party. That's where I abstain. So, like,
Rather support a party that would do things that are like antithetical to progress. You know, you're supporting people that suppress the progress, right? And they take away from the progress that we have made. That's the difference. Turning a blind eye means you're supporting the oppressor. Silence never favors the persecuted.
Jesus, Happy, you have such a wonderful way of twisting my words into this where I hate having conversations with you. It blows my mind. Okay,
But did he
so
twist your words, or did he point out a valuable thought?
hold on.
Right? Like,
So
it could be uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable when I heard that some of the thoughts that I had might be colonizing thoughts, or, you know, and I had to go back and I
you
had to
have
check.
colonizing thoughts?
I think a lot of people have crazy thoughts. We live in Canada and we've had things shoved down our throats for years and years
Don't
and
blame me
years
for
and
your
years.
thoughts.
Pardon me?
Don't blame me for your thoughts.
Oh, nice.
Don't insinuate your
Nice.
thoughts
I
are part
wasn't
of
saying
me
that.
because we share a skin color. That doesn't work that way. No.
Scott, can I jump in here for a minute?
Please, Marshy.
Okay, so I think you're getting it a little twisted. Happy was not coming at you. Happy was actually having a positive interaction with you, I think. I think it was very cordial with you. I also think that Miss Radical was just saying that, you know, her thoughts that she felt were, you know, of a colonizer mindset, and that happens. No one was saying that you have a colonizer mindset. I think what it is the fragility and the uncomfortableness of this conversation because you, as a white gay person, do not have the lived experience as us, the indigenous people. That's what it is. That's my take, but again, it's just my opinion.
So when it comes to Happy, that guy makes me
Or not.
think and work. Hold on. Let me explain. The reason I hate talking to Happy, I have to work and think. I
a
can
chore.
fight liberals on lots of topics. When it comes to Happy, it makes me work. It annoys me because I like being lazy. So that's why I hate talking to Happy. Okay? When it comes to
Thank you for your honesty. That was really good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty for admitting that. That's the first step.
legitimately, he's a pain in my ass because
And
I
you know
got
what,
him
but that's
creating
just-
content. He makes me work. But besides,
Scott, you're doing really well in understanding and taking criticism. You're not like the next guy calling me a racist because I said he had white privilege from what he said.
I
give
never
you
do that.
credit, but I think your views are a little skewed. That's all I'm saying.
No, they might be skewed,
What?
but I don't. I don't judge. Okay, hold on. Let me say this. Until you call me a name that is something I can't forgive you for, I don't judge. A discussion is discussion. That's how we better everybody. Okay?
But here is what I'm going to say to you. Right now, you're sitting in your uncomfortability. That's what you're sitting in right now. And you can shake your head and look at me like I've got three heads and I'm a dragon. But what you're sitting in right now is the uncomfortableness of you being a Hawaii person that cannot understand what indigenous people go through. And that's okay. That's fine. That's the part you need to sit in to have these conversations and come to an agreement. It's perfectly okay.
You assume. You assume.
No, I can see the
Sorry.
uncomfortability in your face.
There's a difference
Would you
between an
would you would
assertion
you
and an assumption.
stop
So
happy?
you made a claim, and I'm gonna just show you where your error is. There's a difference between an assertion and an assumption. So when she says something based around what you have said, based around the information you're providing her, she is making an assertion. When you say that somebody's making an assumption, that is based on nothing, no real information or conjecture, lacking of information. So when we're talking about respect again, we shouldn't minimize the person's input by infantilizing them.
You felt like this
Curiously,
thing.
what are your thoughts?
Like, I don't want to get too deep. I think Happy does an amazing job at this. I was thinking about this today. I'm sorry if this goes off topic a little bit, but the way in which Indigenous people have always been oppressed in society, the way they were forced into signing treaties in society, is the same thing that populism is doing to all of Canada right now.
Yeah.
It's this.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing that's happening. You're getting misinformation, disinformation. You're being swayed by a certain way to vote for a certain person. It's literally starving you from the actual facts to vote for a certain person. That is the same way in which Indigenous people were oppressed to do something for the federal government. And who is doing populist stuff right now? The Conservative Party. That is what they did in the United States. And that's what's happening. You don't realize it, but you are being oppressed from actual facts and knowledge. And what's going to be good for you? What's going to benefit your life?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again, but I gotta go. I gotta work tomorrow morning at pretty early. Thank you all for hosting, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks for coming
Thanks, Scott, for coming up. Actually, I
And,
really
and
want to
Scott,
thank you.
I've had these conversations with my mom's
Smart.
family.
Is it okay if I get Frontline up here? We haven't heard anything from her in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. You can hold on my thoughts.
Thanks, my love. Frontline?
Hey guys.
Any thoughts?
My thoughts are always quite simple. I go based on facts and numbers. And at the end of the day, the facts are this Liberal government did more for Indigenous people than past governments. Those are just the facts. Have they been perfect? No effing way. Progress is slow. It doesn't happen like that in 9 years. It is slow. And they also were bogged down with things like the pandemic, war in Ukraine. There's a lot of complexities to it, but the facts are they did more than other governments. And when you look at going forward in terms of what evidence we have right now, obviously Mark Carney has only been in for 3 weeks, 2 weeks? Hasn't been a long time. But the evidence that we do have is that he is actually going and consulting with Indigenous people for projects that would affect them. And Pierre is not. Even when he went up north to talk about the military bases that we're going to be building in the north, Pierre made a whole speech about it without once even meeting with the leader of the territory, without talking to the Indigenous people there, none of that. Whereas Carney went and made friends with them, talked to them, consulted with them, and then he did his press conference, including them. So that's the evidence that we have. So based on that factual evidence, if we're talking about Indigenous rights, I'm going to lean more towards the progressive parties because they have shown with fact, with evidence, that they are better. And to expect perfect from political leaders is insane to me. The progressive political leaders of the world have gotten better with time, but they've always been kind of shitty. And we're only starting to have better leaders now, especially since, I'm going to say it, I know people aren't going to like this, but since we've had women leaders, we've seen some progress. There's amazing women leaders in Europe. Obviously, not all of them are amazing. We unfortunately have Danielle Smith. But when we're talking about numbers, facts, and evidence, there is no way that anybody will ever sway me to think that voting conservative is a good thing for Canada from an economic standpoint, from a minority standpoint, from just a bodily autonomy standpoint. There's just no doubt about it. And again, economy was like the number one biggest thing to conservatives. And now you have a world-renowned economist who knows what he's doing. And I'm sorry, but picture PP on the world stage, picture Carney on the world stage. It's night and day difference. And we are in a very historic time. Hopefully we survive it, but we're in a very important time right now where we have to stop our dependency on the United States. And yes, it's going to be painful, and yes, it's going to take time, but I'd rather have a top economist getting us through that, working with other countries in the EU specifically, versus Pierre, who is only going to intricate us with the United States even more and make it even harder for us to ever be independent from them.
Thanks, Frontline. Scott, I just promised Smarsh she could jump in and then you're good, okay? Go ahead, Smarsh.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the way I see the politicians on the conservative side is they got a whole bunch of people with ADHD and they're shoving shiny shit and they're distracting them with shiny things. And now all these shiny things are in your face and you're not even focused on what the real issues, and this is where they're getting you with the shiny things and people with ADHD, and it's going to lead this down to a rabbit hole. And I'm sorry to say, but Indigenous people have a higher chance of swaying this vote to Carney. And I hope to God my brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles, and all them in the Indigenous community can get that done, because we don't need a conservative government that's going to sell us out to the United States, and we don't need a liberal government that's going to take my life and play games with it, take Curious's life and anyone else who's Indigenous life and play around with it, because I'm not playing the game life or go fish. I'm playing to survive. I'm going to survive this government. Whether Pierre gets in or not, I will still survive. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, shiny things, ADHD people, distraction is the best way that I can describe that. That is what the conservatives are good at. They're distracting everybody.
Go ahead, Scott.
Ugh. Following that one sucks. Okay.
Do you like my shiny hat, Scott?
That's a very shiny hat.
I got it just for tonight.
See
I
right
think I
there,
got it.
squirrel. See right
Go
there, you
ahead,
had a
Scott.
squirrel moment.
Gold fleck, right? There you go. Okay, so it's hard being in this conversation because I'm looking at 4-1 against me, but everyone's been really good. So like, I'm not being negative. I'm just saying it's difficult because I have to.
You
be
are.
very careful.
I give you respect. You're in the hot seat right now, and you're here for it. And a lot of others dropped like cold hard.
You dropped like that.
Quick, hold on. Quick. Just throwing it out there. I would love to see Scott do a political compass test to see where he falls in the political spectrum, because I have a very deep feeling he's a lot more progressive than he thinks he is. Because I can tell that he's a good person. Like, I know that he's probably listened to a lot of conservative talking points, but I have a feeling like if we take all of the political stuff out of it and we just look at his values and his morals as a human being, I think he falls more into the progressive side of things. I really do.
I think you'd be shocked to see that a lot of people that actually vote the way I do are actually more neutral than they are far right. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I got buddies of mine that their kids are question on certain traits and everything else, but they still vote the way I do. And it's look, and we all look at it as next generation. We're very actually progressive in a lot of stuff. Like, I think when it comes to liberal ideas, when it comes to gay marriage, I don't care. If you love someone, love them. Like, you want tax break for it? Go. I don't care. Like, good for you. Like, legitimately, I'm very neutral on a lot of stuff. It's the extremes on both sides I get pissed off at. And
Liberal Party isn't extreme, and it's actually center right. The Liberal Party, if you look at it on a political compass map, everything they do, their policies and every bit more center. But Carney is definitely not. Like, I can guarantee you, before the Reform Party decided to join with the Progressive Conservatives, Carney would be running for Conservative right now. He wouldn't be running for Liberal. The reason Party has gone too far right, and I want to agree with you that I know, and that's the thing that kind of kills me inside, is that I know how many progressive conservatives there actually is out there, but you guys are stuck right now with having this Conservative Party to vote for, and it sucks for you guys. I really do believe that y'all need a giant reform of your party to actually match who you are.
what right media do you read? What right media do you read?
What right media do I need?
Do you read? Watch.
I mean, there's obviously the extreme right, like Rebel News, but then there's even Toronto Star, National Post, Western Star.
Yes, they
Check
are.
right now if you want.
Hey, no, I'm back.
Okay, hold on.
No.
When you said Rebel
Toronto
News,
Star versus
stop.
Toronto Sun.
Rebel News is far beyond what I read.
Toronto Sun, yeah, you're right.
Sun, yes, not Star. Like, so.
And Toronto Sun, yes.
Okay, so here's the problem: is that I fight really hard to watch left media, which upsets me, but I want to know what they're saying to see if I'm wrong. The right media is easy because my algorithm just feeds it to me. So I'm constantly following the other media to make sure that I'm not being a pompous ass. It's difficult. I find myself being a pompous ass. I try really hard not to be. Okay? So when I
To media to you then.
when I hear anybody saying Pierre Poilievre is the best thing since sliced bread, I stop listening. Okay?
Oh my God, that's
Because that legitimately, you're full of shit. Anybody who wants to be a leader of a country and all of a sudden they're like the next second saint to Jesus Christ, you're an idiot. So the same thing when I hear the other side of the media screaming how great they are. I stop listening. I'm trying to find the middle. And it's very difficult in this era. Like, everyone screams out back. So right now, I've got four people, I haven't heard the other guy talk yet, saying how bad because I'm voting conservative right now. And I get it. I understand why you're pissed off at me because of multiple topics. And I'm never going to be able to convince you on why I think we should go to the middle and how this guy might be the middle, but I don't necessarily believe he's the middle. But I think your guy is too far extreme. So, like, who's the opposition to the middle? Well, I can give you Max A. Bernier, I can give you the Green Party, the Rhino Party, the Moose Party. But no one's going to vote those guys in, right? We all agreed these guys aren't getting in. So, like, how do I tell you I'm voting these guys, but I'm going to hold them accountable? Where I pull my dollars away from them. I don't vote for them when they think they're doing something wrong. And then you get mad at me when you say, well, you should vote for this party if your party doesn't do this. Like, that
Here's
doesn't
what I
help.
think, Scott. Here's what I think. I think Joe is here and he wants to administer the test right now to find out where you
I really do want to address something though, because there is some misinformation though when it comes to the media. There's a lot of misinformation because I'm sure that a lot of conservatives think that like CBC is very left and all of these other CTV and Global News are very left. First of all, we have to look at who funds them. 70% of the media in Canada is funded by Americans and American companies. specifically Republican leaning American companies. Second of all, CBC, CTV, and Global are actually super tough on liberals. They're more tough on liberals than they are on conservatives, and that's why we're pissed off with them. And here, I don't know if you want to make
I stopped watching the CBC for the most part. It's all the shitty things I said about Trudeau.
Hold on. So here we go. Just hold on. Can you make my screen bigger for a sec?
Oh yeah, they're not. I think I can. Look at that.
Okay. So this is just from CBC. This is about Trudeau scandal, okay? Look at how this so many articles about him. None of these are positive. Okay? And there you can keep going and going and going. If they were liberal, like left-leaning biased, they would not have had this many articles and this many pieces on whatever. And I can type in Green Slush Fund, I can type in SNC Lavalin scandal, and they all ripped into him. So tell me how this is left leaning and how they're biased towards preferring the liberals. What about when Rosemary Barton decided to be super tough on Carney, but really not that tough on Keir? So like, again, how I can load more. I can even load more.
Do you want him to respond?
Sure, but I can keep going and I can pull up a bunch of other scandals too to prove my point.
So let's talk about the Chinese mafia involved in Canadian real estate and the gambling, where they're laundering money for even during the early 2000s. This isn't just a Trudeau conservative, this is a Canadian problem. Like legitimately. Like everyone says Canada's not for sale. Guess what? We've been sold. Like legitimately, you look at the amount of influence money-wise into this country, it is disgusting. And no one's covering this. There's very few politicians even doing this or media. When you talk about Markham, all the illegal casinos where they're bringing in the honey trap for politicians, they don't care if it's conservative, liberal, NDP. They don't care. They get anybody in. You talk about our real estate. Well, everyone's been screaming for 30 years about how people are buying the properties. They're jumping up. Like
Scott? Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm Smarsh. I was gonna let Joe chime in actually right after Scott, and then you. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
I'm sorry. This is vexing me. It's I see all these Canadian flags. Everyone says they're proud of being Canadian. Good. I appreciate it. I really do. The problem is that Canada's been sold out a long time ago. This isn't a liberal. This isn't conservative. This is Mulrooney times. Okay? We're talking 90s. It's been a sellout. We're suffering right now because of the consequence of what they did. Liberal, conservative, doesn't matter who's in charge. And like, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 50. I remember the 80s and the 90s.
I'm 53.
Right.
52, sorry.
Yeah, so like, you know, you made 50 grand a year. You made a good living. 50 grand a year, which is average, you're dying. You can't survive. And then you look at all the policies that have been enacted that are selling us out. Americans, foreign, doesn't matter. Our government has not looked after us. Okay. So like,
Brian Mulrooney was what?
Yes,
a conservative. And I agree. I hate what he did. We would have not had the dependency that we have on the States right now if it wasn't for Mulrooney. Also, we have to look at what Harper's government did. In 2014, they were the ones that ratified the Canadian-China Foreign Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement.
Craig Chen was no better. Every one of them have done this to us. You're filling a party? They've all done this to us. Like, this is what I've been said from the beginning. Like, okay, yes, I vote conservative. But if I don't like the party, I
Why
don't
do you
vote.
think that Pierre won't do that when you know that he's had there's been Indian influence for Pierre's party, and not to mention how close they are to the Republicans. They work together with the Republicans in America. If you don't want Canada sold off, then why would a vote for Pierre be anywhere like a smart vote when he's going to sell us off to the United States?
So who's Carney selling us off to?
Nobody.
Carney?
Yeah.
No
was
one that
that?
I know of.
So he talked it within the first week of being in power, talked about joining the EU.
That's not selling us off. That's creating trade relationships with the EU that we need.
How good is the EU doing economically? How's the EU doing? Like, legitimately, how are they doing?
They're doing pretty good, and they have double the population of America altogether, so it would be good for us.
No, they're not. No, oh my God.
Do you want to continue? Do you
No,
want
they're
to
not.
continue
You're
trade with
out
the
of your
United
mind.
States of America?
Scott, I'd like to hear from Joe for a minute. Do you want to
$1.6
respond?
trillion
And then
dollar
we can...
trade. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not a problem. I'm just coming in right in the middle of this. I was getting ready to do the test. If you're willing to try it, this is pretty much a standard test. It's about 60 questions and 6 pages. They start off long. They'll go through across to about 6 different categories, ranging from societal views, political views, economic views, religious views,
I'm in.
and spiritual views. There, as we get into it, certain times you'll hear me using strange phrasing, which I'm sure you're familiar with in TikTok terms. And so the rules in this one are simple. I'll ask you the questions. I'll even show it on the screen. And you can ask me to repeat it. I'm trying not to give you too much in regards to, because I want you to answer it honestly as possible. If you need additional context and whatnot, I do have frontline feminists, and I'm tapping you in to be the one that helps explain the questions, because
And Joe,
do so
thank
well
you
at
so
it.
much for doing this test. We so
Not a
appreciate it.
problem. It's
Can we? Are we going
enjoy
to
it.
completely skip over the trade conversation though?
And we brought Joe up.
It's kind
can't
of
pause.
it's it is. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of important. That's a determining factor in how we move forward as a country. Do we continue siding with the country down south that has been talking about annexing us, placing massive tariffs on us, and going down into a complete and utter fascist regime, or do we branch off and do what needs to be done by creating different trade alliances with different countries so that we can be more independent? Slowly but surely.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the. You know what? Yeah, maybe it's not you. It's it's not me. It's you. It's time for us to separate and go in our separate ways. I'm sorry,
I like
America. I'm very much on that idea.
Curious?
I don't have anything to say. I want to see Joe do the test. That's what I want to hear.
Okay, we'll get Scott to respond quickly, and then we'll go to the test. Scott, I interrupted.
That's all
I should have
good.
let you finish
No,
first.
no. It's all
We
good.
need to
It's all
hear
good.
your response, but no, Joe is waiting. We are all
I
waiting
want to
for
hear.
his
I want
test.
to
I
hear Joe.
thought.
Actually, I actually really want to hear this test with Joe. I want to see how I learn with this stuff.
It is no. I want the other
Boy,
conversation to go first, because this is going to be a 15 minutes.
Can you please turn your camera off if you are going to be doing that? Because we can get banned from TikTok Live. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. No substances on the screen. That's definitely
Okay,
going to be a problem,
so
especially
Scott,
since some of the questions could be in there. So,
Scott wants to do the test frontline first.
all right. So we shall get started. Give me a minute here. I need to position myself so I can actually read the damn questions. Hopefully you guys can see them there.
You have to read them to me. I can't read that.
Oh,
Like,
I will absolutely read them to you. Because, I don't expect you guys to be able to clearly see them. It's not quite the setup for it, but this will actually work. And it worked quite well before. So first question. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Now, I forgot this in the confusion here. I forgot every question has 4 possible answers: strongly disagree, disagree, agree, or strongly agree. It's the only 4 answers you have. And the reason there's no neutral questions is because they do want you to sort of pick a side. And there are a couple of questions where it kind of feels awkward, but they're kind of forcing you to sort of pick something so that we get a sort of a sense of what you are. But again, you do have a scale in regards to agree or disagree, or strongly disagree, or strongly agree. So in this case here, I can repeat the
What's the
question
first
to you.
question? Say that again.
I'll repeat the first question. Absolutely. So, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations.
Jesus. Agree, strongly disagree. I'll do the third one rather than disagree.
There's
So there's
agree
4
or
options,
disagree.
right?
Yes,
So
but they're both based on either agree or disagree. It's either you agree or disagree, or strongly agree or strongly disagree. It's the
strongly
same.
disagree.
You strongly disagree? Okay. So all right. So next question. I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong.
Oh Jesus. Um. So I'll take the rather than full agree, minor disagree.
So disagree. Okay. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
I strongly disagree. You should be proud where you are.
Okay. Next question. By the way, I'm not going to tell you if it's a good
No,
answer
no,
or
no,
bad
that's fine.
answer.
No, that's fine.
Because I don't want that.
apologize
I may ask you questions in regards to just confirm your answer if there's something confusing.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
okay. All right then. Next question. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Our race has many superior qualities compared with
I strongly
other races.
disagree.
Strongly disagree. All right. Next question. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I strongly disagree.
All right. Next question. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
Oh, Jesus. Repeat that question. I apologize.
Absolutely. No. I can repeat them as many times as you want. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
I strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree? All right. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment.
There's a word infusion.
There is a worrying fusion of information and entertainment.
I agree.
You agree? All right. And that's page 1. Next page. Actually, I'm going to do something here. I'm just going to capture it so that we can get the questions in case you want to
I'm really
refer to them
curious
after.
about this one.
Which question?
Any of them. I actually want. I'm really curious on the end of this one.
Okay. Well, we can definitely discuss them all after. We generally do. Give me a second here.
Gotta love the internet.
Oh yeah. And now to the next page. Number 2. First question. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. This is, by the way, questions now in regards to economics. So I'll read the question again.
People are divided by economics or...
Sorry. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality.
I agree.
All right. Next question. controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
I disagree strongly.
All right. Strongly disagree. Okay. Next question. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. All right, then. Next question. Now, this one's a quote. You can ask for clarification if you need to, but I'll read it out first, then we'll go from there. The quote is, "From each according to his ability, to each according to his need," end quote, is fundamentally good idea.
Jesus. I'm going to hang on this one. I agree.
You agree? All right. Next question. The freer the market, the freer the people.
The freer the market. I agree strongly.
Strongly agree. Okay. Next question. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled branded consumer product.
I strongly agree. That's
Okay.
brutal.
All right. Next question. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Shoot. Repeat the question exactly.
Absolutely. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
I agree.
Okay. Next question. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society.
I very strongly agree.
All right. Next question. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
I very strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. All right.
Oh, dude, you can go past that disagree. I'm there.
Oh, strongly disagree would be the more extreme version of a disagree. Yes.
Yeah, I strongly disagree with that.
Strongly
That
disagree is what I meant.
actually Mopar versus Ford.
Mhm.
That was a thing that happened in the States where Mopar sued Ford because they were trying to give more money to their employees and take care of the area versus Mopar versus the investors. That I strongly disagree.
Very well. Strongly disagree is what we are going to mark. The next question, that's similar. Well, sorry, it's not similar. But the next question is, the rich are too highly taxed.
There's loopholes. That's a very complicated question. Yes. No, hold on. Repeat the question. They're strongly
Absolutely.
taxed.
The rich are too highly taxed.
No. But there's too many loopholes for them to. So, strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree? All right. And just to clarify, I'm going to ask you a second question here, the same thing, which is, you believe the rich should be taxed more.
I believe there's loopholes where they're avoiding taxes too much. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I asked the question again so that
Good.
I'm matching your answer. That's all. All right. Next question. Those with the ability to pay should have access to a higher standard of medical care.
Is there a neutral thing for this one?
No. Unfortunately, there is not.
I know there's
Yeah.
not.
No fence sitting here.
Yes. Ah. So you have wealth and you can afford it. I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. All right. And the last question for this page. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predatory multinationals to create monopolies.
Repeat that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, this one's a big one. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. All right. That's the end of that page before I do anything.
I'm
Oops.
so curious about this mark.
It's always interesting. It's always, I find them interesting. I find so based on certain questions, it's always going to be interesting for sure. And I usually get a bit of a sense, although I am not going to say what sense I'm getting right now because
Hold on.
do not
Everybody in the chat, I want to know what you think of this answer before you guess it to us.
Well, actually, no. That we don't want too much of their guess. I don't want their influence onto you. I want you to be honest, and the more honest it is,
No.
the better it reflects for you.
It
I've
only
given my-
works if it's your
This is
feelings.
directly
It doesn't
my
work
honest
if it's our
opinion.
feelings.
Like I actually worked on every question
Mhm.
to make sure I gave the
You
right
absolutely
one.
did.
But I just so respect you that you're willing to do this right now. Like, you're so relevant right now in this piece.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
Thank you.
One quick question, because I usually try to log these things. I got your name. I got your political affiliation. What area of Canada are you in, by the way? Are you in Alberta?
Nova
I think
Scotia.
you mentioned Nova Scotia. Okay.
Originally
Beautiful
from
place.
Ontario.
Originally Ontario. Oh, okay. All right. Next question. So this page is going to be on to personal societal, personal social values.
Oh shit! I thought we were
So,
done. Okay, good. We're good.
oh no,
Go.
no, we still got another 4 pages. So we're on page number 3. Told you.
You're committed.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be the last one that's a bit long. The next one's get a little bit shorter, and you'll see what I mean. So the first one, AB, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Actually, wait, no, I was told that AB is no longer needed because AB is not a keyword that TikTok watches. So I'll repeat the question. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal.
No,
So disagree?
I disagree.
Okay. Next question. All authority should be questioned.
Yes, always.
So agree or strongly agree?
I strongly agree.
All right. Next one. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
That is very complicated.
That's fair. You can work through it if you'd like.
I disagree, but not strongly. Is that a way of doing that?
Absolutely. I can just mark disagree.
Okay.
As I said, there's 2 levels to either agree or disagree, and it's either just regular or strongly. And if you
Yeah,
just want
no,
to disagree,
I
you can
just,
disagree.
I just disagree. I don't
Okay.
want people attacking people because of rumors.
Okay, absolutely. So that seems to match your statement matches your answer, which is good. Next question. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
I agree.
All right. Next question. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory.
Disagree. Not strongly, but just disagree.
Disagree it is. All right. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. All right. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
I agree.
All right. Next question. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
Damn. Jesus.
It gets very complicated. It gets kind of invasive.
That
in
is
there in regards to the
complicated.
questions. Yeah.
Okay, so I disagree, but the problem is that this is a very wide this is a wide question. So I'll say disagree, and I can have the haters hit me, but like, you should not feel that you should hold secrets from your parents. That's my
All right.
answer.
Okay. That could be. I don't think it's something that's
Well,
that can. Yeah, they may comment on it, but disagree is your answer. No. Actually, that's fine. Actually, no, that's fine. All right, this one is. I slightly changed this one, and it's just because in Canada, it's kind of different. So I've changed this because the principle in that is based on sort of the American and what Canada's law used to be, and you'll understand in a minute here. Possessing rugs, and rugs is not the thing on the ground, but usually the thing that you
yeah,
consume.
I got it.
Yeah. So possessing rugs for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree? All right. Next question. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline.
Oh, Jesus, that's a looped one. I agree. Yeah, I think I have to stick with that one.
You agree? All right.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right. Agree. Next question. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures.
I very strongly. Oh, sorry. Say that again.
There are no There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures.
I agree.
All right. Agree it is. Next question. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree? All right. Next question. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. Like looking at the panel of cookies.
Yeah, I know. I see all the cookies. I see them all. My eyes are closed. Okay, so repeat the question so I get it right before I answer.
Absolutely. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
I agree.
You agree? All right. Next question. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country.
I strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. Next question. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. And last question for this particular page. We'll still have another page. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. All right. And that ends this page to the next one. Next one is, again, still society, but more on a wider version of it. So, kind of the same, but a little bit more.
How am I doing so far?
Well, there's no score. So far, you're doing great. You're at least, oh, hang on a second. I need to do one thing here. You're doing great in regards to at least, from what I can tell from your questions, they seem to match whenever you're responding to them.
Okay.
So far, so good. But again, there's no right or wrong in this. And that's the only thing I want to say.
I'm sorry, I see all these gingerbread cookies, and I'm like,
I know. They're making me hungry. I blame them all. They're laughing. I think they're trying to hide their emotions, but they don't realize the cookies make it just far more amplified. And I think they were having fun with it, and it's good. All right, next page, wider society. This one's going to be less questions. So this will be, again, like we're now in the home stretch. After the 3 pages, you get to smaller pages. So first question. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree. All right. Next question. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system.
I disagree so much. I don't think how much farther you can go that side.
I can say strongly disagree. Would you say strongly disagree in that case?
I very strongly disagree. You need more than a two-party system.
This one was, since this one is saying that it's recommending a one-party system, I guess strongly disagree would be what you're saying.
Strongly disagree.
All right. As long as they're matching your answer. Perfect. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
Say that again.
So, although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
I strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree? All right. Next question. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. That's,
No right or wrong answer.
There's no right or wrong answer. That's definitely one
No,
that
I know
take a breath to think about it.
that's an answer that I've had problems with for a very long time. It's trusting the government that that person is guilty. I agree.
You agree? All right. Next question. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and below to be commanded.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree? All right. Next question. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
Wow. Repeat that, please.
Absolutely. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. Next question. In criminal justice. Wait. In criminal justice. punishment
That was
should be more
awesome. Who did
important
that?
than rehabilitation. That was me.
Start
That was
again.
awesome.
Start again.
Certainly. In criminal justice,
No, make the
punishment.
sound go too.
Oh,
No,
sorry. In criminal
stop.
justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals.
Oh, Jesus. Some criminals. That's a hook.
It is. It is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. Sorry, try to rehabilitate some criminals.
I'm sorry. I know guys will hate me for this, but I actually agree. Some people cannot be saved.
All right. Next question.
I agree.
Nobody's allowed to agree or disagree.
They're not going
Except
to
for
influence
Just
the
Scott.
decision.
Yeah.
I guarantee
They
it.
cannot have anybody else.
I forgot that rule.
No problem. Next question. The person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
I strongly disagree.
Sorry, disagree. All right. Sorry, I misphrased that. But it's the business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
Strongly disagree.
Same answer. Perfect.
Same answer.
Excellent. Next question. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree.
Sorry.
All right. Next question. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science, and growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming.
Repeat that question,
Repeat.
please.
Absolutely, because I think I misphrased it too. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming.
Disagree.
All right. Next question. Last question for this page, and then we'll be down to the last two. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity.
Making peace with the establishment
is an important aspect of maturity.
I strongly disagree.
All right. That's the end of that page. Next page is religion.
Oh, Jesus.
I should get that as a button. There we go. First question. And so the religious questions, just to hopefully relax you a bit, it's not going to go into any specific religions. The closest is the first question. That's pretty much it. And you'll understand as we're going through it. First question. Astrology accurately explains many things.
I agree.
All right. Next question. You cannot be moral without being religious.
I disagree.
Disagree? All right. I don't want no judgy cookies. Charity is better than...
I'm not even looking
cookies.
at the screen right now.
Yeah.
I don't even.
I don't look at the screen. No looking at the screen. It's just cookie chaos now. So a question. I'll restart the question here. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
I very strongly agree.
All right. Next question. Some people are naturally unlucky.
I agree.
All right. And last question for this page. It is important to my children. It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
Oh, I wish you just said values. Okay.
Religious values, yes.
I know. I agree.
You agree? All right. And I don't think I captured the page before here. Let me see here.
But remember, Clyde, I did say religious values.
I know what he said.
Okay.
So here's the way I looked at that question.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You got to answer.
No. But I want to explain to the cookies that are glaring at me right now because they're all glaring.
Cookies don't glare.
They're glaring.
These cookies
It's
do.
having values to make better for mankind. I think are better than just looking for self-evident.
But they didn't say that. It didn't say that. It said.
I understand that, but the question said religious values. So I look at religious versus self-viewing. That's the way I looked at that question. I may take it out wrong,
Yeah.
but I would rather someone worry about his neighbor than his own self.
Fair.
Hold on, but does that mean that if you are not religious, then you don't care about your neighbor?
No, I'm saying I would rather someone look after his neighbor than himself. That's the way I look at it.
I know, but it did say religious values. Could you not have those same values without being religious?
Hang on. This is not the time when we discuss this.
Okay. Sorry.
Help me.
But frontline, you can introduce the last page.
Oh shit.
The next page is
Talk about you and me. Let's talk about Schmecks, baby. Let's talk about all the good things and that Schmecks can be.
there you go. You're introduced it by the cookies. Yes, the next page and the last page is about Schmecks and everything about it. First question. Schmecks outside of marriage is usually immoral.
Oh shit. Damn it. Schmecks outside of marriage.
Schmecks outside of marriage is usually immoral.
Immoral.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's wrong.
My wife is now standing here. I agree. But I
Okay. Hang on.
Like,
The context. The question. The context of the question is not.
Sex outside of our marriage.
Yeah. It's not in regards to while you're married to go out. It's if you're a bachelor or unmarried.
Okay, so if you're unmarried,
if you're unmarried, yes.
I will say I was immoral, yes.
You say it's immoral? You agree it's immoral?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I pimp him out?
Hey, no judgment. No judgment cookies here. Or was that the wife?
No, the cookies are judging and the wife is judging. Okay, we're good.
The wife is.
Yeah, well, I could talk about the cookies, but you're on your own with the wife.
Right?
Smart lady.
Yeah.
I get much
Next
money
question.
for him, but I'd take anything I get. 5 cents an hour.
After the test, we'll move on to the auction phase for resale value. There we go.
He's destined.
Next
Go on.
question. Next question.
I might be short on funds.
A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Now, this question is a little confusing because of the double
I
negatives.
strongly agree. They should not be exempted.
Okay, so do you believe they should be allowed to adopt
should be
children
allowed,
whenever they
yes.
want? Okay, so that matches. Good. Next question. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
Adult population, yes.
Agree?
Agree.
Okay. Next question. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state.
I agree strongly.
Thank you.
All right. Well, no.
They're laughing at you.
Next, the next one. No one can feel naturally homosexual.
What does that mean?
Or another way of saying, no one can feel naturally gay.
Okay, so
naturally lesbian.
Okay, so you're saying this is a choice or a natural feeling, correct?
This is the question would be inferring this, yes, in regards to they're saying that no one can feel naturally homosexual, so that comes out to as you interpret
naturally. That's a hook word.
Sexual.
Okay, so repeat the question so I make sure I get it right.
No one can feel naturally homosexual.
I disagree.
What is homosexual? Like, this is a new term.
It's TikTok, so they'll get banned.
We have to use specific words and say it in a certain way because TikTok gets a little upset when you say certain keywords and kicks you off and makes you lose access.
I had to explain that. We're all good.
Yeah.
We're all good.
Perfect. Yeah. If you hear us doing weird language, it's just because we're avoiding censorship. The last question for the entire thing. These days, openness about schmecks has gone too far.
I agree.
All right.
What was the last question?
That was the last question. And that was about
how
openness.
bad did I do?
I don't think it's a bad versus. It's not a
It's not a bad versus good thing.
Hold
It's
on,
not
hold
a bad
on.
versus.
Gingerbreads are going to kill me. Go.
It's definitely not a bad versus good thing. I'm just updating this to there.
It's a pass or fail.
So to explain a little bit here, you're going to be getting your box, you're taking one of these 4 boxes. Authoritarian left, which means you believe in strong government control, but economically you believe in far more social values in regards to programs. Authoritarian right would be a lot of government control and a lot more conservative values. Same thing on the bottom, libertarian, less government control, but again, same thing on the economics scale. There are some examples here of China's where they sit. Surprisingly, North Korea is a very economic authoritarian left, while Saudi Arabia is very authoritarian right. And for you sit actually in the left. Now, this is not uncommon. You are further towards the right in regards to some of the other people I have tested, but you do fall in that particular area. And I'm just going to...
Interesting.
Welcome to our house, baby. Here we play.
So I will bring up, and I'm going to bring up here. I'm just going to put this over there. Frontline's getting all the juicy details here. I'm even going to do this here. If you're some way for me to reach you, I can actually get you this particular certificate. Oh, these guys are British.
Scott, you get a certificate.
Yeah. It's it shows you. It shows you your position.
Hold on,
It
guys.
shows you your position in regards to where you're situated. You're situated right here. You're amongst some pretty interesting people. Aside from I'm not too sure who she is, but
Hitler?
Nicole Sturgeon
But
is
you
the
can't
other one,
say
but you
that.
got Bernie
You can't say the
Sanders
word.
and Nelson Mandela. So you have that happening.
What?
Yeah, well, that's
He's
in the
there.
left. He is
Guys,
there.
my wife's black. She just laughed.
No.
Perfect.
I was like,
Oh.
Thursday, Friday moment.
So the when it comes to where this lines up to, for example, in last political chart here, and I'm gonna try to center this a little bit better for you guys here. This here is where you are about 2 down, 3.
He's basically like right beside the NDP.
You are actually right at the NDP area. Your dot is just a little bit further south left of the NDP.
Who knew, Scott?
NDP, Scott.
Hold on. Guys, I said from the beginning, if I do not trust the guys I vote for, I abstain. That's not the wrong
But
thing.
not voting this year is gonna help.
Abstaining is a vote.
Abstaining is a vote, but it's not really a vote.
It's
I'll
not helping
explain.
us.
Yeah, the reason why it's not a vote is because you're giving your vote to whoever wins, and if you think the person
Right.
who's gonna that wins is a terrible choice, well, you technically voted for that person.
Okay.
Not to mention,
if some party has an extremist view where I align with them 80%, but they come up with an extremist view, and then I vote for them. So I'm now voting 80% against or for what I want, but 20% where they get the popular vote. How does that put me?
but this is the thing. If you don't vote, Scott, you don't get a voice to bitch when things don't go your way.
Well, I do because
No,
unfortunately
you don't. No,
they
you don't. You
ask every
forfeit.
month for money
No,
from
no.
me, and if I
Doesn't
stop,
matter. You know.
hold on.
Don't complain.
If I stop sending them money, they know I'm not happy with them, so they might change.
Yeah, like your wife said, no vote, no complaint.
So
Sorry.
I'm sorry,
Doesn't
Scott,
vote.
but as a
Hold on,
former conservative,
Hold on.
I had
Stop,
to dig deep.
Stop. My wife doesn't vote. You
Scott?
cannot take her opinion.
As a former conservative, I had to check myself and go back. And the more I checked myself, the more I learned, right? And you kind of have to keep going and finding the roots of all of these things. And the more you unwrap, the more you're going to be shocked. But if you're just sitting there going, you know what? I'm not going to vote. I'm just not going to vote. It's like I said, it's that almost like being tied to an abusive person without saying, you know what? I'm not going to say they're abusive. I'm just, they're still my friend and family. I'm still going to stick beside them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hold on. Stop. Let me counteract that opinion.
Okay.
If I think that one party is doing the extremist view on 15% of their values, pushing that fact, and then I concede that my party is not completely aligned with what I want to do, and I vote for the opposition for that 15%. And they go to extremist where I find my neighbor is now affected because of those views. Is it better that I did not vote? Or is it better that I supported the opposition for 15%?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Do you agree with the Trump administration? Do you like what they're doing down there? Are you pro or against Trump?
I would say, honestly, 60%.
60% pro-Trump?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
well then
God.
my next question does not even have a place here.
Yep. And again, you don't vote, you don't get a voice. I'm sorry. That's it.
Yeah,
You don't vote.
you're right.
Yeah,
So
you don't
on
vote,
that
you don't
note,
complain.
Hold on, but you do know that where you ended up on that political compass is like miles away from where Donald Trump would be.
Okay, so what's our trade with the UN?
What's our what?
What's our trade with the European Union?
Well, right now it's not super high.
Yeah, so what's our trade with the US?
Much higher. Your point?
Okay, so 1.2 trillion versus I think the highest numbers were 5.9 billion. Okay?
For what?
Understand that a trillion in seconds is 30,000 years versus a billion is hundreds of years. So that's
Okay. So, but what is your point that you're trying to make?
I'm not
What is the
blaming
point?
Trudeau or PP for where we are right now. Multiple generations of leaders for this whole. Okay?
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
So we're now scrambling to recover. And it's a difficult situation. Very much so. Do I want better trade with the EU? Yes. Do I want better trade with the Asians? Yes. The problem is that so many leaders have completely relied on the Americans, where we're now in a predicament where it's not a fast get out. So, like, it's how do you appease Orange Man bad until we get back on our feet?
Because Orange Man is bad.
Why
Yeah,
do we have to
but-
appease him?
You guys, you don't understand trade if you think you can do this instantly. Doesn't happen.
We very much do.
Okay, so
We trade.
Hold on, though.
Hold on.
Most of the issues.
So, if you cancel U.S. trade tomorrow, stop. If you cancel U.S. trade tomorrow, it's $900 billion.
Nobody is canceling U.S. trade tomorrow, though. That's the thing. Things work slowly. There is a progression towards new things as we slowly stop depending on the old things. It is a transition, not an overnight switch.
Right.
30 years, we've tried to do an EU trade that's never worked. 30 years, we've been trying to do an EU trade where we're fighting about milk, eggs, meat, products.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Okay. All of a sudden, over tomorrow, they're going to say, yeah, everything Canada wants we give. No, doesn't work that way.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. But here's the thing. I got a question for you after you're done.
Do you know that, like, the thing is, countries have to change how they do things when we're going through a new situation. China and frickin' Japan are talking to each other for the first time about becoming better trading partners due to the tariffs that the US is putting on them.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden they're going to be buddies, but they're willing to work together because they see that the world is changing and they need to keep up with that change in order for their economies to survive. And at the end of the day, what we need to look for is stability more than anything else. And right now, trade with the United States is anything but stable. There is global instability from what Trump is doing. And I can go into more detail, but I'll shut up for now because I'm already putting down too many points. When we talk about the issues with trade and the issues with our oil and the issues with interprovincial trade barriers, those are mostly the fault of conservatives, conservative premiers, conservative governments, and conservative judges.
Thanks, Frontline. All really solid points. I'm about to end our live, but I'd like to give everybody a few minutes to respond. We can start up with, well, curiously, if you're up in the box.
I'm really proud of you, Scott, for sticking around and doing that test. I think it was really courageous for you to go through those answers to find out where you are. I think you've been really cordial with this whole process, and I hope you learned something about yourself tonight.
Smarshy? Thanks, curiously.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, you stuck around and you didn't quit like most of the guys on the panel because we've seen a lot of that tonight. And I hope that, yeah, you do sit with your uncomfortability sometimes and just think, what can I do to make a better Canada? And just think about what vote is going to be the right vote because at the end of the day, this is the biggest election and everyone around the world is counting on Canada to do the right thing. And I just want to say, everybody drink your water, take your meds, and practice self-love.
Stay away from meds.
Scott, I'm just going to let everybody go through their things and you'll have a chance to respond, okay? Thanks. Joe,
Yeah, as I'm
you look
discovering
so
my.
delicious. I never
I
thought I'd say
know.
that to you.
Yes. Don't I look tasty? Some reason that my mouth doesn't work as well. It's probably because the beard.
Nom nom.
I'm just going to, yeah, it's I always like the compass test, just as the same, and this is something Frontline I definitely agreed and discussed many times, is we both like the compass test because it's always really enlightening in regards to where people believe that they are and where they kind of fit. And it's one of the things I do is, as I'm doing these tests, I also try to capture the data and also mark down as to where people are, and to try to see if we can kind of look into where people are overall. Because I think there's also, there is a disconnect when it comes to people in regards to what they believe as a good idea in the party, what they believe versus what their issues that they want, that are passionate about. And I think it's one that we need to considerably work on in regards to getting people to be more focused in regards to working for the issue versus working for the team. And if you find something that, you may not realize that that team is the one you may or may not like, but if they're actually working on the issues that you actually care about, maybe it's time to actually consider that team. And also, if you're using the cookie filter to try to hide your emotions, the icing gives it away. Just saying.
Darn. Thanks, Joe.
No
I'm
problem.
gonna go next, Frontline, and then I'm gonna let you shut down the show. What do you think?
Still giving Scott a chance to speak?
Oh, sorry, I'm being rude.
Oh,
Eat
Miss
first. Let me think
Radical.
about this. I'll go, and then Scott will go, and then you can finish up the final thought. What do you
Okay.
think?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Scott, I really appreciate you being up here tonight. I don't know you very well, but it seems like you have a really great sense of humor, and you're really
Politically,
putting
we all know him better now.
right, and you're
Yes.
putting your best foot forward up to try, which is stellar. I really appreciate that, and we learned a little bit more about you tonight. Thanks for joining, Scott. Scott, what would you like to share? I'll even expand you, big guy.
50
You could be
first.
a cookie too.
Oh, hold on. Let me improvise this one. Okay.
Wouldn't you want to be a cookie too?
No, I'm not doing cookie. It's not
Come
happening.
on.
That's not happening. So what it is
Tasty.
I want the best.
Tasty.
Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Okay.
We
I want the
can't.
best.
We're cookies.
I
Cookie.
absolutely want the best for Canada. I'm not doing cookie. Stick it in your ear. I'm scared when I hear the 51st state or the 47th province or EU. That really bothers me. And I might get a little nationalist on this, and I think some people might get offended by that. And I don't mean that I don't want the immigration and everything else, but I don't want another country controlling us. And unfortunately, I see generations of leaders of this country back into the 90s slowly selling us out. And I'm not going to be hard on one line or the other. I just want to be Canadian. And I hope that a majority of us want that. So, listen, I told you guys from the beginning, I'm not all sold on Indigenous stuff. I've been honest about that stuff. But if you lie to me about that stuff, I don't believe you no more. Okay? So, that's where I back you. If you're going to say something in politics, then back it up. I vote for you, back it up. Okay? And so understand that I don't necessarily have all your little boxes checked, but when my politician lies, I don't back them. And I hope the rest of you do the same thing when it comes to NDP, Liberal, Green, whatever. Like, you have to hold us to a standard. And if you stop doing that, this doesn't mean anything.
Well, you and
Right.
I align pretty closely. Thanks for sharing. We have one smart cookie left to go, Frontline. Take it from
Go
here.
Frontline.
Oh, you guys are hilarious.
Nom nom.
Nom nom nom.
Nom 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 nom.
So, when it comes to not selling us out, I think that us continuing to trade with the United States is selling us out, because that's exactly what he wants. He wants to weaken our economy so that he can use it as leverage to play us and take all our resources, because that's what they want Canada for. They're running out of resources and they want to take that. So relying on more trade with the US under Trump is, to me, an absolutely crazy idea. The man is turning the US into an unstable, authoritarian state right before our eyes. And since he's come in for his second term, he's been all over the place. He's slapped random tariffs on allies. Mind you, didn't slap one on Russia, though. He's rewriting trade rules on a whim. He's undermining the institutions that have kept global trade fair and predictable. And that's not just bad for diplomacy, it's bad and it's a real threat to our economy. So if we deepen the ties that we have with them, it's just going to be super bad for us. Like, we need to start thinking like a country that actually wants to protect itself. And the US might be our biggest trading partner, but when that partner becomes super unreliable and starts threatening the very systems that we rely on, we have to look at other options. And the EU knows that, and that's where they come in. So I do think that trading more with Europe does give us access to markets that are stable, that are rule-based, and that are not run by someone who could tank the relationship with a single frickin' tweet. Like, the EU does value democracy and respects agreements and doesn't use trade as a political weapon every other week. This isn't about turning our backs, it's about being smart. And yeah, if your neighbor suddenly starts acting erratic and dangerous, you don't hand them the keys to your house just because you've known them for a long time. You have to make a backup plan, and that's exactly what Carney's working on. And diversifying trade does protect Canadian businesses and workers and the overall economy from the chaos that we're seeing south of the border. So yeah, clinging to the US, it's the still and like safe, stable partner it was once. It's pure denial. So I think it's time we grow out of that comfort zone and we build stronger, safer relationships with countries that aren't threatening to burn the global order every time they get upset.
And not to mention, Frontline.
Absolutely. Smarsh, we're wrapping up now, hon. Sorry. But I do just want to share your 100% smack on. Sorry?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought Smarsh. Okay. You're 100% smack on, Frontline. You nailed it with everything you said. Thank you all for coming tonight to Beaver Politics. We appreciate all of your time. Beaver Politics is for the people and by the people. And tomorrow, stick around. We have Breaking the Dam with Jana tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night, we have Radicalized in the evening. So stick around, come back and join us. We are here for you. Thanks for joining Beaver Politics tonight, and watch how the cookie crumbles, friends. Take care. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Scott. Have a good evening, friends.